morning. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. Hope you're feeling right, living well. Big Friday energy. Morale is high. We're happy to have you. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in on the conversation at any point. Got Coach Mack at 11:20. Always good to get into some Mack talk. Well, I've got some questions for him about defense in particular, and the way that I've heard a lot of coaches in the NFL talk about watching the Titans defense in particular. So I'm looking forward to getting into that with Mack at 11:20. We also have a conversation about Mike Vrabel on the hot seat because this is the offseason time. This is the list season, and this is when frivolous questions are pondered. I saw Mike Florio posing the question to his audience on NBC, so I thought we'd work through that process together and get your opinions on that. What the level of pressure you feel like the head coach is under in 2023. Meanwhile, we got DeAndre Hopkins. Do I call it an update? Do I call it news? What do I call this, Jackson? I'm not entirely certain.
Gaslighting.
Yes, that's probably the most appropriate term. Because we put it to a poll at Buck Reising on Twitter and Threads is where you can vote on the polls. Who is gaslighting you harder in the DeAndre Hopkins sweepstakes? D-Hop or the media? Because I think this is probably going to come back in favor of media. But I think that DeAndre Hopkins likes being the talking point of the offseason. At least he would seem to be. He's participating in the discussion, both on Twitter and on Threads, as a matter of fact, because the latest post from DeAndre Hopkins comes to us via Threads. So he says that he feels great on Threads. He's still in search, obviously, of his next NFL team. I walked in, Jackson, and there's no way to sound like, I feel like every time you say, something happened to me at the gym, for example, it's hard not to sound like a D-bag because the immediate response is, oh, sick, you work out. And maybe yes. But, I have a lot of conversations with a lot of sports fans who hit me in the face in the morning at 6:30 a.m. when I go to the gym. When's DeAndre Hopkins signing with the Titans? It's perpetual. So when I say that happens to me with great frequency there, it's not because I'm some kind of meathead who wants to tell you that I go to the gym, but that's where these conversations happen the most frequently, it would seem. Literally the first thing that somebody said to me this morning, not hi, not how are you, not happy Friday, not you look well, you look rested. No, when's DeAndre Hopkins signing with the Titans is the thing that hit me in the face this morning as I was stretching before the circuit training workout. And what?
Didn't even ask about birthday plans or weekend plans, anything like that?
Nothing. No consideration for me as a human being other than as a vehicle for NFL information. Give it to me now. Give it to me this instant. I need to know what's happening. And then I shrugged my shoulders, I grunted, and I went about my day.
And that's the way, we like it.
Yeah. That needs to be a drop. So anyway, DeAndre Hopkins is threading, not tweeting, but threading last night. And D-Good says, well, answer the dude. I'm going to. The answer is, I have no bleeping idea, okay? The idea that DeAndre Hopkins is signing at any point in the next couple of weeks, today, tomorrow, next week, the week after, really, my contention is until somebody tears their ACL, a wide receiver tears their ACL, and DeAndre Hopkins can sign with a desperate team. That's basically been my position around DeAndre Hopkins. And I don't know how many times that I have to say it into how many different microphones across how many different airwaves for people to understand that and for me to not be hit in the face at 6:30 in the morning with when's D-Hop signing with the Titans. But he's fanning the flames, if that's what you want to call it. What are you smiling about back there?
Just a caller.
Callers who don't want to be on the air are my least favorite callers. Dare I ask, is it safe for air what's happening back there?
It's blackmail against you.
Oh, good.
Great start.
Wait. but that call just literally vanished into the shadows. So I have no idea what's being discussed. So you are now in on the blackmailing.
I am.
You
We'll
now
find
have
out.
leverage over me.
Yes. Happens fast.
Head on a swivel. The hell? I just one time I would like to work with a producer who's not actively trying to take me out. It'd be a great way to go about my professional existence.
I let you in the building this morning.
Yeah, the last 3 days, I haven't had my key card. I lost my wallet. It was the most sober day of any day of the July 4th, break or whatever. Literally on July 4th, just stone cold sober at the pool, lost my wallet, lost my key card, can't get in the building. Jackson has to let me into the parking lot and into the building and into the radio studio every day for the last 3 days. But anyway, so DeAndre Hopkins is the person keeping this thing alive, all right? So he threads last night, assuring people a couple of weeks ago that his future teammates, he's going to make their job easy. He's feeling great. He says he could play for another half dozen seasons. DeAndre Hopkins at 31 years old thinks he's got 6 more seasons of NFL football in him. Okay, well, whatever. That's fine. You can feel whatever you want. It's like that corner for the Bucks who was mouthing off, I don't even remember his name, and that's not, I don't mean to inherently be disrespectful, but like I had not been familiar with this individual other than him threatening the rest of the league, basically, don't doubt us just because we lost Tom Brady. To which I would say, no, you bleeping idiot. Of course we're going to doubt you because you lost Tom Brady. You don't have anybody else, and your quarterback is probably Baker Mayfield. What are you talking about?
It was Carlton Davis.
Well, I know who Carlton Davis is, so that was just outwardly disrespectful to Carlton Davis. I'm sorry, Carlton. See you in December. We'll be down there. But DeAndre Hopkins is saying, all right, so he feels great, play another half dozen seasons, whatever. He says yesterday on Threads, I'll retire from football when I'm not a 1,000-yard receiver. With that said, I was on pace for 1,400 yards last year. One significant injury in 11 years, I might be playing till I'm 37 the way I feel, which is easy to say at 31 that you might be playing until you're 37. So the amount of 1,000-yard seasons that DeAndre Hopkins has had in his career, because last year, obviously, 6 games he missed, but, did get 700 damn yards in 9 games, which is crazy to think about. And again, he was on pace for, as he said, 1,400 yards. His career high is 1,521 yards in 16 games in 2015 for the Texans, his first Pro Bowl year. 192 targets, which is obscene. He was literally the entire offense. In fact, I'm pretty sure, if I recall correctly, he would have still been with Andre Johnson in 2015. And if I remember right about those Houston Texans teams, those two were literally the entire passing game. Just throw it to, which, makes all the sense in the world. Why wouldn't you? But 1,521 yards, 11 touchdowns, 111 receptions on 192 targets, and a yards per route of 13.7. Yards per reception of 13.7. So his career best year some time ago, but he's only missed the 1,000-yard mark in, he's had a 10-year career at this point. He's only missed the 1,000-yard mark 4 times. 2021, he only played in 10 games. 2022, he only played in 9 games. He had significantly more production, though, in 2022 than he did in 2021, and I believe that was the significant injury that he was referencing. He did so the last 2 seasons, worth noting, under 1,000 yards. He has not had a 1,000-yard season. He had 1,407 yards, 6 touchdowns in 2020. So he hadn't had a 1,000-yard receiving since 2020. And then his 2013, his rookie year, 802 yards. His 2016 season, 954 yards, so just short. What is he trying to accomplish is the question, or is he just, threading for the sake of threading? Because I am shocked by the amount of people who I know are busy and who I know have things to do in their lives that are spending so much time on Threads. Do you have one of these things yet, Jackson?
Yes, I created a Threads, was it the night, was Wednesday night the night it came out?
Don't tell corporate, but yes.
Well, we just did.
I know,
You've now outed me along with yourself.
That's correct.
We go down together, buddy.
Well, once it's basically like a blood pact around here. Like, if I go down, all of us go down. All right? Like, it's in the same way that you all can try and undermine me on a regular basis. Not if, but when I inevitably go down in flames, everybody's going with me. I promise you that. But so he's posting on Threads, and there's a ton of people who are spending entirely too much of their time on Threads, the new Instagram and Facebook's new version of Twitter, as they try and not literally, although Zuckerberg and Elon Musk are planning to fight each other at some point, according to Dana White. In the meantime, they're battling it out from a technological standpoint, and now there is lawsuits being filed by Twitter against Mark Zuckerberg and Meta. Either way, we're not here for that. So DeAndre Hopkins is just threading away. So maybe he's just doing it because he's bored. He's like the rest of us. There ain't bleep going on. And he's still talking to the Titans. I can't speak for his level of contact with the Patriots, but I know that he's been in regular contact with the Tennessee Titans. So you can continue to, whether that's, I don't think that's newsworthy. I think that's just an assumption at this point for any of you. But if you needed to hear that, there you go. No. I don't want to steal that from Blaine and Mickey because that's Blaine's voice, but I would so much rather have that as the breaking news sound around here than the laser light show that drives me crazy. But yeah, so he's continuing to talk with the Titans. I don't know what his level of discourse has been with the Pats. I assume that's been the same, but I don't know that. And people are asking in the F&M Bank chat where you can interact with the show, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, or, of course, you can always call in, 615-737-1045. Trippin' Titans asks of DeAndre Hopkins, is he just trying to get his stock up? Well, sure. Wouldn't you be? If you have an idea, even if they're not like concrete offers that you've been presented, you have a ballpark understanding of what the New England Patriots are going to offer you and what the Tennessee Titans are going to offer you, right? Carolina, I'm not certain, but, they continue to lurk in the shadows. If you're DeAndre Hopkins and you know that you're in no rush to sign and you know that you have these options out there, but, what's the harm in trying to gaslight not just NFL fans, but NFL franchises into creating a better market for yourself? Yeah, why wouldn't you try and raise your market value? Because we've talked about this before, and perhaps you've forgotten because it's probably been the better part of a month since we had Mike Giannitti of Spot Track on to talk about this. But in this period, in this window, from June 1st to, let's say, September 1st, there has never been a player in the last 6 NFL off seasons in that window, June 1st to September 1st, that has received more than $9 million in guaranteed money. If DeAndre Hopkins was to eclipse that figure, it would be the first time that a player in that window has reached, theoretically, double digits in guaranteed money because a free agent like him has not been available. There have been certain free agent situations that have been odd, but there has not been a free agent like him available at this particular time of year. He plays a premium position. He is worth, even at 31, far more than $9 million guaranteed, but he is working uphill against the fact that teams have spent their money, teams have addressed their needs, and that he really doesn't have any. I mean, he does have a degree of leverage, but he doesn't have the leverage that your traditional free agent of his caliber would. So, yeah, he's trying to get teams to bid against each other. He's trying to get teams to bid against themselves at this point. All in an effort to get the best situation for him moving forward. Now, the best situation can involve any number of factors: competitiveness, quarterback, coaching staff, city, taxation situation, depending on what state he ends up landing in, whether that's, Massachusetts, North Carolina, or Tennessee at this point. Tennessee would be favorable in the taxation category. But all these different variables that DeAndre Hopkins is going to factor in, why wouldn't he just sit there and put stuff out on social media? It's not like Lamar. It's not going to hurt him. DeAndre Hopkins is going to get a contract. It's not going to be the massive second deal, the big payday. He's already had a couple of those at this stage in his career. So it's not that kind of situation as it was for Lamar, where Lamar's social media behavior felt like it might hurt him a little more than on average. Giles says, could he be learning the playbook? I mean, yeah, sure. But when you say learning the playbook, DeAndre Hopkins knows plays, right? NFL teams, for the most part, everybody's running the same plays. You have differences in play caller tendencies. You have more creative play callers in which personnel they deploy in which setting. But for the most part, everybody running the same plays, right? So what it would be incumbent, the biggest hurdle for DeAndre Hopkins at that point would simply be to learn the nomenclature, the language, the play calling language for the Tennessee Titans, as opposed to what he's been, doing under previous coordinators with the Arizona Cardinals. So like learning the playbook in that sense, yes. Learning like plays, he's going to know plays, right? DeAndre Hopkins is a 10-year NFL veteran. He has seen enough offense. He's played for enough coordinators. Hell, he's played for this coordinator. So that is not my concern, nor should it be your biggest concern. Trippin' Titan says he sounds really out of place in Boston based on his threads, but he is threading from Boston. Bad or good sign? I hadn't seen. Is there geotagging on his social media behavior? That I had not seen. Is he, in fact, tweeting from Boston on a regular basis? Listen, Boston's great, especially in the summer. Boston's one of my favorite cities to visit. I don't stay in Rhode Island when the Titans play at Foxborough. I stay in Boston, the business district. It's a great place to walk around if you're a big history buff. I don't know if Hopkins is. Maybe just like lobster rolls. Whatever the case may be. Like, Boston's a badass city to hang out in. It's a decidedly better city in the summer than Nashville, just because the humidity here is oppressive, like suffocating to a degree. That's really the only there's a great many reasons why Boston is a cool city. There's a great many reasons why Nashville's a cool city. I would favor Boston in the summertime just because it feels like actual hell here some days. But just something to keep in mind. So I don't know about the logistics. Jackson, have you confirmed this? You look like you were looking at your phone. I don't know if you were texting somebody or not paying attention to me, or if you were actually looking.
I was paying attention. It's Hopkins. So I don't see the thing on Twitter where it's like tweeting from or whatever. I don't see that. So he did, like, I'm sure you've seen like the clam chowder tweet, right?
No, I have not seen the clam chowder tweet.
Well, he tweeted or threaded, whatever you want to call it. I accidentally ate pork for the first time in 8 years because I ordered clam chowder in Boston. Somebody should have told me it's bacon chowder.
What? There's bacon in Boston clam chowder?
I guess. I don't know.
Oh, just completely foreign concept to me. I only know the clam chowder that is what? Clams, potatoes, and what else do they put in there?
Chowder is a foreign concept to me.
Okay. I like it fine, but bacon in it. So
bacon makes everything better.
Apparently not if you don't eat pork.
Unless you're DeAndre Hopkins in this situation.
Yes, indeed. So I don't know that he's tweeting from Boston, apparently, or threading from Boston. Damn it, I'm going to do that too. It's exhausting. I'm posting all of the same content on 4 social media platforms. I'm literally posting the exact same clips on Instagram, Threads, Twitter, and TikTok. It's exhausting.
You could start doing TikTok dances.
I started doing the prompts. I don't think I'm going to do the dances. Like, if somebody with a big enough following, because I am that clout thirsty, if somebody with a big enough following that it would benefit me wildly to embarrass myself on TikTok by doing the dances, then I would do the dances. But in the meantime, I'll just do, like the red flags prompts and stuff like that. Like, those make me laugh.
There are challenges on TikTok, so we could make you eat more spicy stuff.
Nope, don't want to do that. Don't. If that is the inventor of the spicy chip challenge, then bleep TikTok. Not even because the Chinese are the Chinese government is stealing, the Chinese Communist Party is stealing my information. They can have it at this point. Mark Zuckerberg owns half of me. When I assume the Chinese Communist Party owns the rest of my information at this point, to which I say, I don't care. I signed away my rights long time ago. I've been on the internet basically since like 6th grade, right? It's just like I have come to terms with the idea that I've signed away basically everything that is me.
Or do you think AOL Instant Messenger, what percentage of your...
Oh, God. I mean, I was peak AOL AIM like age, for sure. I don't remember. I wish I remember my screen name. I'm sure it was horrifyingly embarrassing. But either way, point being, wherever DeAndre Hopkins is threading from, whatever kind of chowder he's eating, wherever he's doing it, None of that is going to change the fact that whether it's the Patriots, the Titans, or the Panthers, or a team that has not yet emerged in the sweepstakes, this is just something. This is just something that I think you're going to have to grit your teeth and bear it. 615-737-1045 is the number. Don't forget, Coach Mack will join us at 11:20. Coach Mack's coming to the bowling event. You can get your tickets for the bowling event at 1045thezone.com. Split Happens is the name. You can find it on Eventbrite or the radio station's website, as I mentioned. And it's a great night, Thursday, July the 13th, coming up at Kings Bowl in Cool Springs. Your ticket includes food, drink tickets, and a portion of the proceeds going to benefit our great friends at Home Street Home who are out there trying to help the homeless community here in Middle Tennessee. We can't wait to hang out with you on July the 13th at Kings Bowl in Franklin. Make sure you get your tickets. Coach Mack will be there. Ben Jones stop by for a little bit. Darren Bates has put together a Raw Room team. We are excited to have them and you. So make sure you get your tickets at 1045thezone.com. Coming up next, the NFL's official website, NFL.com, put together non-quarterback MVPs for each franchise. I'll tell you who they selected for the Titans on the other side. The Big Machine Music City Grand Prix, August 4th through the 6th. IndyCar comes to downtown Nashville. The track is awesome. It's set up in the footprint of Nissan Stadium, home of the Tennessee Titans, and the cars go 200 miles an hour around the track and across the Korean Veterans Memorial Bridge. I've had the opportunity to go to the inaugural Music City Grand Prix and last year's event as well. I can't wait to be back this year hanging out in the Turn 9 Club. You can join us in the Turn 9 Club if you want to. You can get your tickets at musiccitygp.com, or you can also get your single-day passes, your 3-day passes. Make sure that you're equipped for the family fun zone, for the concerts, three great days of racing, music, and family fun. You can't ask for a better event than the Big Machine Music City Grand Prix. Again, August 4th through the 6th coming up here in downtown Nashville. Make sure you get your tickets before they sell out at musiccitygp.com. What am I? I'm like jarred. What is this? Why is this raging in my ear? This is not Happy Friday music. What is this?
Gotta wake you up a little bit. It's
I don't
danger
want to.
zone.
No, that's fine. Wake me up a better way. This is all right. If I'm going to, now that you are officially a part of our dysfunctional little family around here, Jackson, I would say to you that your obligation is now going to be correct to the music, because sure enough, as I look, because for whatever reason they have these things in front of me now, like I can see how the music is labeled that we play coming back from break. All of the worst music says 3HL in front of it, and I don't understand why this is the case. I haven't seen anything with my name next to it that would indicate that we have a musical library specifically for this show.
We don't. That's why it says 3HL.
Okay, well, instead of the terrible, and it's not 3HL's fault. They don't pick their own music. It's probably not even Joe Hunk's fault. It's probably JT's fault. JT, if you can hear me, if you were within the sound of my voice for Zone OGs who remember the great JT, bleep yourself, because your music is terrible, and I need better options, and now Jackson has to deal with it.
This one was Hunk. I watched him put it in.
Okay, well then bleep you too, Hunk. I don't understand. all of the music makes me it makes me angry.
I've played a bunch of their stuff over the last couple of days, and you haven't hated anything but this.
Okay, well, I'm not. That's not true.
You've just been quiet about it?
That. Well, it's Friday, and I like Friday is a vibe day. Morale is gonna have to stay high at this point. So the music is as important as anything else on a Friday, and that it would be soured that way. It disappoints me. 615-737-1045. Trippin' Titan says, you're always angry, Buck. I know. That's how this works. Otherwise, you don't get a radio show. Like, if something doesn't piss me off, I can't talk for 3 hours. That's just the general concept. It is, yes, also a deep character flaw, but it makes me capable of doing this job. Malik Willis Truther says, LOL, more Paramore for Angry Buck. Yes, I would take more Paramore.
We only have the one song.
Well,
we might play it again. I did enjoy it.
That's fine. I would rather you do that than the terrible 3HL music.
Sorry, Hunk.
Yeah, I'm not. So, NFL.com has put together a list of each team's non-quarterback MVP for this upcoming season. Now, I think that most people are going to find this answer fairly obvious. Jackson, if I said to you, of any player on the Titans roster not named Ryan Tannehill who was most likely to end up as the Titans non-quarterback MVP, that's a lot of qualifiers in the sentence that I just rattled off there, who would you select?
Henry?
Derek is probably the answer that most people are going to go with. And I think that that's an answer that's I'm certainly open to. It's not the worst answer in the world. Derrick Henry is as good an option as they have. He's arguably, Derrick Henry is, at this point, still the best offensive player that they have. And you can talk about the limitations of that if you want to, but there is no disputing that Derrick Henry is a hugely talented player and that they need Derrick Henry to be successful in order for themselves to have success. But that's not who NFL.com has selected. NFL.com thinks that this is going to be Jeff Simmons' year. Coming off the big contract, year 5 as a former first-round pick, this is the write-up. The Titans are in a strange spot as a team right now, hanging on to past pillars such as Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill. So they're referring to your two most important offensive players this year as past pillars. Okay? While also starting to refresh other elements of the roster. That's a new R word, not rebuild, not remodel, refresh. But one other team's strength lies on the defensive line, and it's a good enough crew to keep Tennessee competitive in the AFC South, which has something of a mixed bag of offensive line talent. The group is led by Jeff Simmons, arguably one of the 2 or 3 best at his position. Wasn't quite as impactful in 22 as he was in 2021, fading a bit down the stretch as he was slowed by knee and ankle injuries. The Titans also lost a little bit of their depth via the departures of DeMarcus Walker and Mario Edwards. Simmons, Danico Autry, Tierre Tart, that is as underrated a defensive line threesome as you might find. I think Jeff is properly rated by his colleagues, by the coaches across the NFL, by people who actually watch football and don't just, look at box scores and then talk about football on a regular basis, like people who actually watch these teams. Jeff Simmons is appropriately rated. Autry, I think there's been an appreciation for since his time with the Colts. Did well as an undrafted rookie in Oakland when they were still the Oakland Raiders, now the Las Vegas Raiders. Went to the Colts, performed well there, didn't get a contract extension there, came down to the Titans and was, arguably one of the most important free agent signings of the John Robinson era. Ben Jones is one, but I'd probably put Danico Autry too. So I think that looking at the selection for NFL.com, Jeff makes a lot of sense. But I think in order of importance, I probably would put him over Derrick Henry. The most important thing that you can have beyond high-level quarterback play to above-average quarterback play, which you do currently have, whether you like it or not. Many of you don't seem to think that, but that's just the facts. Ryan Tannehill is an above-average quarterback, and he is your best chance at success this year. Full stop. Derrick is an incredible weapon, an incredible asset, especially when you talk about the red zone. Now, in order to maximize Derrick, you have to make it to the red zone more often. And Derrick's ability to help you there is negated when you run him for negative to little gain on first down specifically, where the Titans had the most first down running back rushes of any team in the league last year with very, very underwhelming results. Now, I understand that the counter for Jeff as the non-quarterback MVP would be touchdowns. He doesn't score touchdowns. And I don't know what kind of creativity Tim Kelly possesses, but it would not, I don't know that Jeff couldn't score touchdowns. I've seen him run drills in practice where he catches balls one-handed all the time. But I understand what you're saying. Derrick is going to be a much greater source of points than Jeff is. And your greatest issue right now is the inability to regularly score points. But the second most important thing on a football team is not a running back. No matter even if it is the running back. The second most important thing on any football team is the ability to get pressure with four. And beyond that, to be even more specific, the ability to get pressure from the interior. That's Jeff. Jeff has more ability to single-handedly disrupt the high level of quarterback talent that you're going to see week in and week out. Derrick was recruited to Alabama as a pass rusher. He chose to be a running back because he likes the ball in his hands, because he's great at it. Good for Derrick. Derrick Henry cannot help them in what they are constructed to do, which is a front four or front five, however you want to do these things, that is tasked with stopping the likes of Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Pat's not on their regular season schedule. So let's say this year, Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, all the quarterbacks, all the ascending quarterback talent that's in the AFC beyond your quarterback, right? Because your quarterback is not an ascending talent. Your quarterback is a very, very successful player, but is not at the point of his career where he could be considered ascending. Basically, every other quarterback in your division is. Trevor Lawrence, we'll see what happens with the two rookies, but it is fair to expect that we will see them make some kind of progress from their first game of their NFL careers to their last game of their NFL careers, unless it's an Urban Meyer type situation where I saw Trevor Lawrence in his rookie season appreciably get worse, ways that don't typically happen. But I understand that the counter for Jeff is, well, Jeff doesn't score touchdowns. Derrick does. And Derrick, inside of basically 3 yards is as good as any player in football. He's as good as any weapon in football. I would not dispute that whatsoever. But again, your team is not constructed to keep up with the likes of Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, X, Y, and Z. Your team is specifically constructed to stop them. And so if your best chance to be special is going to be your front four, then the person who is most important to that front four success is Jeff Simmons. Having Harold back will matter. We'll see what, I'm sure Harold's not going to put a percentage of what his health is. I'm sure the coaching staff isn't going to put a percentage on what his health is. But in reality, my expectations for Harold are about, between 75 and 80% of what I know Harold Landry to be coming off an ACL tear. That's how your team is constructed. You may make the argument for a wide receiver or a tight end or a running back in another system, but that's not your system. We'll see what your new offense looks like this year. But until such time as that is evident in front of us and there is proof of concept of them having greater success on the offensive side of the football and understanding how to better maximize the talent that they have around the quarterback and the running back at this point, and, hopefully for their sake, both of their sakes, improving the offensive line substantially, the best you've got is Big 98 in the middle. That, I think, and that, by the way, that's not a bad place to exist. You have on your defense, we were talking with Cordy Curtis about this yesterday. The Tennessee Titans, at their position, have 3 top 5 players, no matter how you would judge them, right? Jeff is a top 5 interior defensive lineman. Byard is a top 5 safety. Derek is a top 5 running back. That's enough talent for you to build around on both sides of the ball for you to be able to overachieve if you do things correctly. And in fact, the defense, Shane Bowen and that defensive staff under Mike Vrabel, they have played above their heads so often because of how well they put their players in positions to succeed. Because as much as people that felt like we're trying to gravitate towards, the Titans defense, it's got so much young talent, it's got so much potential, they should really, really be good. Well, in reality, how much of that has really worked out? Azeez Al-Shaair is not a young player. He's I would consider him a journeyman at this point. He's been a career depth player. Monty Rice is still young in his career, but he hasn't been able to crack the lineup to this point. We'll see if he can make an impact this year. The corner situation is very, very uncertain. Beyond Roger McCreary, I don't know how much I can trust the rest of their secondary. Even Amani Hooker, who couldn't stay healthy last year. And that's the only bad thing I can say about Amani, because he is, I think, honestly, they probably have a top safety tandem in football when the two of them are right. But Amani wasn't healthy last year, and they had to find different ways to use both him and Andrew Adams on the field in certain situations to make up for their lack of corner depth. So you're a lot thinner at a lot more positions than I think most people would associate with the Titans defense. This is not the Titans defense of 2021. It's not even the Titans defense of 2019. It's a much more unproven group, even as you have been working with a couple of these players for the last couple of years. If I told you, do you trust maybe you don't trust anybody implicitly in this sport, but do you trust Christian Fulton implicitly? The answer is going to be no. Can't stay out there. And that's not Christian's fault. He's taking the steps he needs to correct the problem. But can I say that I trust Christian Fulton's ability to stay healthy implicitly? No. I don't know what to make of the inside linebacking situation. Harold Landry is a high-level player. Jeff Simmons is a high-level player. Danico Autry has been incredibly productive while not necessarily being that kind of high-level talent. But at some point, Danico Autry's body is going to start failing him more, just as it did down the stretch last year. So while I am confident in what Jeff and what Byard can bring to the table and what I think Harold Landry is going to be capable of, even if he's coming off an ACL tear, there's a lot of things about that defense that I just have giant question marks around. And I think that's the thing that most Titans fans seem to be leaning on the most, is the defense going to be fine. The defense going to be great. And I would say to you, the defense wasn't anything but great last year. It's the 32nd ranked passing defense in the sport. They were incredible against the run. Team said, okay, we'll just throw on you, and did it with great success. So there's a lot more ground there on that side of the ball that needs to be made up for, and Jeff is as important as any piece on that defensive line for it. 615-737-1045 is how you join the discussion. We'll come back to the Titans stuff later on. Coach Mack will be on at 11:20. We'll talk to him, and many of you have sent me the clip of Mike Florio talking about Mike Vrabel being on the hot seat in 2023. We'll get to that in the noon hour as well. Rooney Glover in the F&M Bank chat says, every team has question marks. Yes, but I think that you have more question marks than most. The thing that I have no question about is that you have more question marks than most across your roster, even as they've done as much work on that roster as their finances and cap situation would allow. Just something to keep in mind. Coming up next, there was a hilarious article that I want to get into about the number of celebrity boxing matches that keep happening in sports. The latest that's being discussed is Elon Musk versus Mark Zuckerberg. And we're going to get into this article coming up next. The Gambling Clinic is such an incredible resource. Our listeners have had a great result with it. If you are somebody who's experiencing issues with gambling, or you have somebody in your life who has suffered with gambling issues. The Gambling Clinic is a program established at the University of Memphis in 1999 by Dr. James Whalen and his staff. It's the oldest continually operating clinic specifically focused on helping people with their gambling-related problems or addiction. It is not there to outright discourage you from gambling, because the vast majority of people gamble for fun without any issues. But about 5% of people report spending too much money on gambling habits, getting into arguments at home over their gambling habits, or other problems that can arise. They can help get you through that process with their treatment plan designed specifically for you. The goal is to complete 8 to 10 weekly individual sessions with someone trained to help with gambling problems and addiction. It begins with working with someone to build a clear and accurate history of each person's gambling and the harms that can result. For more information about the process of the Gambling Clinic and to get the help that you or your loved ones need, go to thegamblingclinic.com. That's thegamblingclinic.com. This project is funded by the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. All right, this is better. I can work with this. It's a little more mellow, but this is more our vibe, I think. At least in my opinion.
I like the song. It's vibey. It's got good vibes.
So this is my struggle with music is I recognize songs, like I know what I like, but I could not for the life of you tell me the name of the song. I want to say this is Glass Animals. Is that right?
That is the band name.
That's the band name.
The song is called Heat Waves.
Heat Waves. Okay. Like, that's a hugely popular song. They were just at Ascend. I've listened to that song over and over and over again. For all the things that I do have retention for, I can't do movie quotes. I feel like most dudes can, like, just rattle off movie quotes at any given point, especially with their buddies. And I can't do bands or names of songs.
I can do movie quotes. Me and my buddies can pretty much throw out any line from any mid-2000s comedy, and we got that. But song names I'm horrible with. That's why I normally stick to whatever's in the system. Okay.
Well, we're going to work. That is going to be a collective effort between the four of us. Bert and Lucas aren't going to want to help, but it's too bad. I'm going to make them. Trippin' Titan says, Buck doesn't know music anymore. Another sign of age. No, it is factually accurate, though, that music does suck now worse than it did. Like, it's progressively getting worse. Like, there's no disputing that whatsoever. Like, when you go, like, I know that's definitely a sign of age, that is going to be my position on these things, but there is no disputing that music is quantifiably getting worse over time.
You were shaking your cane at this guy currently.
Yeah. I mean, yes, because music now consists of you drop whatever 15 or 30 seconds of a song that you have done on TikTok to see if it'll go viral, and then you write out the rest of the song
this
around.
Song was huge on TikTok.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you write, and I don't know that happened with Heat Waves, but like, there are songs now that are being popularized by TikTok, and then they're building out the rest of the songs after the 30 seconds goes viral on TikTok. That, I hate that. It's way, way too formulaic, but it works. So what do I know? Anyway. Malik Willis Truther says, come on, WAP was a showstopper. Yeah, there's some exceptions. No. What do you mean, no?
I didn't like that song.
You didn't like that song? Oh, that's on you. Was it make you squirm? Are you uncomfortable with the material?
I don't know, like, it killed the vibe in any party.
I don't think that's true at all. I have definitely seen the mood elevated by WAP more often than I have, and not the because there's two WAPs. There's the WAP and then there's WAP. And I'll let you figure out which. Don't Google it on a work computer, though.
Which one do you think I hate?
Both.
Are they the same song?
Well, no, because one is like the WAP, and they just repeat it over and over and over again, as opposed to what WAP stands for in the other song.
Oh, yeah. I do hate
both. What we are going to talk about here is somewhat pop culture related, but it is also tied to the world of sports. There was an article, a scrolling threads yesterday, because I'm slowly weaning myself off Twitter, because bleep that place. And I'm sure threads will become just as toxic in short order, and I'll hate that as much as I hate Twitter. But in the meantime, seems pleasant, seems enjoyable. But I was scrolling yesterday, and I came across this article from the New York Times. And it is one of the funniest. The hook to get me to click on the article is as good as any that I've seen. Joe Bernstein is the writer for the New York Times style section. Why are so many high-profile men subtly so eager to rip their shirts off and show us that they are big, buff boys? I investigated. And the title of the article is Welcome to the Cage Match. It's a story reported out around this idea that Elon Musk versus Mark Zuckerberg is something that might happen in Las Vegas in the near future. Something that Dana White of the UFC is actively engaged in brokering and promoting. Of course, he stands to make so much money because even if you are somebody who doesn't pay for pay-per-view under normal circumstances, there is a far larger portion of the population that will pay to watch either Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg get punched in the face. It's like Celebrity Deathmatch used to be a thing, a show on Comedy Central where it was like those weird claymation type animation things that they would make of celebrities just beating the holy hell out of each other and killing each other in Simpson-esque ways, right? So like graphic cartoons. It's real life. It's like the movie Idiocracy. We're all now living in Idiocracy. If any of you have seen that movie that plays way too much on Comedy Central in the summertime, like we are now living in Idiocracy. It was foretelling, right? Foreshadowing. Now, Celebrity Deathmatch, we are living it with Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. Lonzo says, no, that was MTV, Buck. You're correct. That is correct. But either way, so what the article does is it goes through, Joe Bernstein goes through like, what is happening in society, basically, to where we are now content to settle everything with cage matches. Like, instead of becoming more evolved as a society, we are devolving into who can hit each other hardest, the most, in front of the biggest platform, right? And by the way, that sells. Like, that's a formula. I'd buy that fight.
I would buy that fight.
I'd buy that fight in a heartbeat. Are you kidding me? I refuse to pay for the Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather sham. I ended up getting free tickets to go watch it. I watched it. I got free tickets to go watch it in the Lexus Lounge at Bridgestone, which was sick.
I thought you meant you got free tickets to the fight.
No. Although I'm sure if I begged, no, MMA and like stuff like that, like it's really, really hard to get tickets like that.
Also, really quick, Buck, put $1 in the jar.
Why? I didn't name drop anybody. The Lexus Lounge is not a person.
That's still, it's almost, I got free tickets to go watch that in the Lexus Lounge.
That's part of my job. We get free tickets from work all the time.
You
have probably finagled more free stuff from this radio station in your shorter time here than I have at any point in my life. There is no disputing that.
I don't know if that's true. I did get to see Brock Lesnar lose to Roman Reigns in Nissan Stadium when SummerSlam was here last summer, but I don't feel like burning my bridge there, Buck.
Okay, see? Like, this is something. So if I have to pay $1, you now have to pay $1 because we get free things from work all the time. It's one of the best parts of this job. In fact, it's not. I don't do this job because I have any great love for sports. It's because I get free things. That's why I do this job. But yes, so you mean to tell me that if I had the experience that I had, that I should lie about it and say I paid to watch the fight instead and not leave out the details that it was in the Lexus Lounge at Bridgestone Arena?
Correct.
When did you go to the shadows prematurely? What happened?
We were talking back here.
Okay, excellent work. But see, this is what happens. So why are we settling these things in a way that seems less evolved than more evolved? That basically is the summary of the article. Now, I think all three of us, and probably everybody listening, would pay for the Elon Zuckerberg fight. Would we not?
Yes.
We're getting it for free on social media right now. Bert, are you on Threads yet? Even though we got a corporate email saying don't get on Threads yet.
Hell no, I ain't getting on Threads, man. It took me so long to get 1,000 people to listen to me on Twitter, let alone hop over there. The best Threads I got are in my closet, brother. I'm not getting on Threads.
I've seen your sad little closet. I have to look at it every night.
My sad little closet is chock full of Zara and thrifty vintage finds from Goodwill, so you mind your own business.
I do like your graphic tees, but that's about it. I think, though, like, I don't know who I would rather see get hit in the face more. And we'll put it on a poll at Buck Reising on Twitter. Like, who would you rather see, or who would you most like to see get hit in the face? Elon Musk or Zuckerberg? Mark Zuckerberg and Meta have plenty of problems. Elon Musk is louder. He's more out there. I think he's more polarizing. I think more people would probably be inclined to answer Elon. But I do think a very, very good case could be made for Zuckerberg in that moment. I'm probably going Elon, though. Elon drives me nuts.
See, the thing that most people are underrating about Zuckerberg is that he is a practitioner of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's entered Silicon Valley competitions. He was in Master Rank 2, I believe, last time I looked it up. So, like,
what is that for the audience?
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
No. The Master Rank 2.
Master Rank 2, so I think that's inside of the no gi. So the gi is what people in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu wear, and it's used to choke or put your opponents in different difficult situations. So the real Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, not the real, but the higher level of difficulty is within the no gi, which what's his name, Zuckerberg practices. So, I mean, I think he's pretty proficient at least the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I don't know how he would be as a striker, but at least the grapple portion of it, I think he would be able. And Elon, by the way, is built like a fridge and not a good one.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like the weirdness of his body shape makes me think that he would be less inclined to win a fight. Like when you talk about people who are barrel-chested, like have a broad chest, just like their rib cage is wider and bigger than yours. Like that's called barrel-chested. Elon's entire torso looks like, I mean, he looks bloated.
He looks like a barrel.
He looks like an actual barrel from top to bottom, though. I just, that frame doesn't make me feel like it would lend itself well to fighting, but like Zuckerberg's not a big person. I'm just going off reach there at that point.
And I believe Elon has about 50 pounds on Zuckerberg. When we looked it up yesterday, I think Zuckerberg was in the 120s where he practices Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I think Elon was up in like the 180s, 190s.
Lonzo in the F&M Bank chat says, I want to see Buck Reising get punched in the face. Oops, that wasn't a choice. LOL. Well, it could have been. There's some kind of like charity boxing thing that I got asked to do a couple years ago. And I said no.
Who in Titans media would you fight?
Would I fight?
Who do you think you got a good shot against?
Oh, that's a good question.
And don't be mean.
Don't be mean. I mean,
there's some obvious targets. Just don't be mean.
Well, okay. Who are the obvious targets?
I don't know.
No. If you have obvious targets, we can talk about this. In fact, let's do that coming up next. That's far more compelling than anything I want to talk about today. Who in Titans media would we fight? Coming up next.
$11 o'clock, what the heck's going on from the 104.5 The Zone Studios? I'm Robert Walsh. A little college baseball transfer news as the Vols snag former Clemson slugger Billy Amick as he announced he is headed to Knoxville. The All-ACC Amick hit .413 with 13 homers and 63 RBIs for Clemson in 2023. In the NBA, the Portland Trailblazers are matching restricted free agent Matisse Thybulle's 3 years, $33 million offer sheet from the Dallas Mavericks. The sheet was signed and received in Portland this morning. And in the Summer League, Jazz snuffed out the Grizzlies 98-83, and the Thunder struck out the Sixers 100-91, where former Vol Jaden Springer had a team-high 17 points to go along with 5 boards, 2 assists, 1 steal, and a block. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. Now back to the Buck Reising Show on 104.5 The Zone.
Second hour underway on this Friday. Vibes are high, so's morale. We got Bert, we got Jackson. Lucas still on assignment somewhere in Hilton Head, sending me and Bert thirst traps of him eating crab on the beach. Looks lovely, doesn't it? 615-737-1045 is the number. We'd be happy to have you at any point. You can also interact with the show on the F&M Bank chat, which is where our next subject comes from. We were going to get into the most exciting college football players of 2023. We can still do that at some point. But it's been submitted. Jackson submitted this, actually. Who in Titans media would I be most likely to, so how did you phrase this? Most likely to fight, or who would I most want to fight?
I think the most competitive fight is what I want to hear.
The most competitive fight. So the one that I don't want to fight Teron. One, because I love him. TD's my guy.
That was the one I would definitely pick you to lose.
TD, I would definitely lose that fight. But like the only advantage that I have here, because you might be able to tell this, not a fighter, but I am physically bigger than probably I think Nick Suss might have like an inch on me or so, and definitely since the weight loss situation, I'm down, literally 54 pounds, which may or may not be an advantage in this situation. But 6'2", 192, I feel like I've got better reach than most people in Titans media. I wouldn't want to fight Jimmy. I feel like he might take one of those pencils out of his visor and stab me in the side of the neck with it. Like I feel like Jimmy's going to fight dirty. Like I feel like sweet Jim Wyatt is actually going to take a pencil and knife me in the neck with it. Teresa Walker, I know that she was a gnarly powder puff football player. Don't want to mess with Teresa under any circumstances. So that leaves who? PK, Terry. Who am I forgetting? Ben Arthur's covering the division. Ben's such a nice and friendly guy, but so I could definitely take Ben. No, Ben. The nice ones are probably the ones I have to look out for the most. I don't know. I think the most fair fight would probably be me and PK, but like I'm just so much physically bigger than Paul is. Now Paul obviously has an attitude. I don't know. I definitely have him advantaged in height, reach, and weight. I know he's been very proud of himself, and he's done well. I know he's doing some kind of Iron Tribe type of situation. So I know PK's in better shape than he's been in recent years. But the most competitive fight, but I'd probably be me and PK, I would think.
I think Terry McCormick would whoop your ass.
I think so, too. I think so, too.
You don't want to start something with a little such and such. He would come after you.
Nobody understands that joke other than the two people sitting next to me in the press box. But I love Terry. Terry's funny for a variety of different reasons, even though I don't think Terry means to be. Like when he tweets out transactions 4 hours after the fact, it sends me. I don't know why I think it's so funny that it's always like it's like having Titans news on a tape delay. It's laugh out loud funny to me every time it happens.
DVR'd my Titans news for the day.
I mean, honestly, like it's like all of us are using Twitter and then Terry's sending it to you via the mail. Now, I know that PK versus a lot of people has almost happened several different times. In fact, on this very radio station, I think it's been discussed many, many times about Hope Hines almost beating Paul's ass.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, Jackson, you know who Hope Hines is, right?
Yes.
Yes, like sweet, Nashville television staple Hope Hines. That was a
Icon.
thing. Icon, correct. There have been many, many people who have threatened to take Paul out in the parking lot and whoop him. But I don't think anybody's actually swung. In fact, it's probably the best thing that you can say about PK is that nobody's actually swung on him, including Vrabel.
I've heard the Darren Bates thing. I've never heard the Hope Hines thing.
Oh no, that's as close as I've seen a human being to probably dying, probably being killed. I'm telling you, that's as scared as I have ever been working a locker room. There were two moments like that, as a matter of fact, and both of them involved PK. So I can't remember the year, but it was for sure Rashard Matthews was still on the team, and there was some kind of criticism of special teams around Rashard Matthews on social media that Darren Bates did not like. And none of the PR people were stopping DB from walking up on Paul that way. And we didn't know what was happening until it seemed like it might be too late. And I want to say it was Derek Morgan that stopped Darren Bates from physically putting hands on Paul in the locker room. Another time it was Wesley Woodyard. And I was honestly more scared of Woodyard doing physical harm to him because of how much faster he was moving towards Paul in that direction than I was Darren Bates, even though you might think that Darren Bates is most likely to swing. Lawan and Bates had to physically stop Wesley Woodyard from taking him out. And it's, again, as scared as I've ever been working a professional locker room. I can't imagine what that would have looked like had that actually have gone down. But it's honestly like I think of Titans media because my first day in a locker room was 22 years old. Right, no business being in there, completely underqualified. I literally emailed one of the PR people working as an overnight producer at a little station in Antioch saying, hey, I would like to start covering practice, please and thank you. And they said, okay, we'll see you on Monday. And that was how I started covering the Titans. They never should have credentialed me. I never should have been there. And all of a sudden, I'm 22 years old in an NFL locker room. With no experience covering any sports whatsoever. Didn't do it in college. Never been in a professional sports locker room whatsoever. Never talked to professional athletes. Hell, I didn't even do that. I didn't even do that like around Indiana sports. Like I think the only like. Yeah, I didn't do anything involving sports broadcasting at Indiana. I literally just sound like this, and people kept giving me jobs in front of microphones. So, there would be never any violence between any of my Titans media colleagues and myself because I love them all. They're my family, truly, and I mean that.
That is a disclaimer.
Yes, I mean honestly, I like in the way. I don't know how people feel about this in certain settings, but like you talk about like growing up in a certain like area in your most formative years, like 22, I'm going to be 30 in less than 2 weeks. In 13 days, I'll be 30 years old. So for the last 8 years, I have literally grown up around those people in the Titans locker room while learning how to do this job. Now, you may say that I've not learned how to do it well. I think on certain days you'd probably be right in that assessment. But because Wallace says, and you still don't know what you're talking about. That's right. And I still have this job. Eat it. That's what they call justice, baby. That's right. Oh, goodness. But yeah, never any violence between them. Should we do the most exciting college football players of 2023? We're going to continue to do this segment on a regular basis as we get you ready for the college football season. I think we're going to do it every day at 11 o'clock so far. But I think that when we talk about this, obviously a lot of these players are going to come from the SEC. A lot of these players are going to be on Tennessee's 2023 schedule, which is why I wanted to specifically highlight them with Greg Cosell. So in looking at a couple of different players, we started with the Alabama and Georgia football teams. And today, I want you to hear some Greg Cosell analysis on a defensive back. What, Jackson?
Got to go to break.
What do you mean I got to go to break? You literally told me I don't have breaks today. I plan to do... He just whispered in my ear, just go. Okay, fine. Go to break. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is here to help you as you go through the process of aging, as your body starts to change. This happens to a lot of guys, especially when it comes to erectile dysfunction. The Tennessee Men's Clinic wants to make sure you understand that you have the best resource around in their treatment path that they will help you discover. There is no one-size-fits-all treatment because we're all individuals. We all have different things that go on with our body, specifically relating to ED. The Tennessee Men's Clinic has an experienced staff that will help you find the best treatment path for you as an individual. They have 2 locations, one downtown and one in Cool Springs, their newest office in Cool Springs, to help get you right. So to help find out what's going on with you and to make sure that you have the best treatment path possible, go to the Tennessee Men's Clinic. That's the TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Now, normally, when Coach Dave McGinnis joins the radio show, It's return of the Mac. But Jackson's all right. Jackson's figuring it out back there, and we're very lucky to have Coach Dave McGinnis in studio with us. He's presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans, like an extra set of pads. They've been protecting Tennesseans for 75 years. Farm Bureau Health Plans is where you go. Mac is in the house. It's always good to see you, buddy.
Good. Thanks, Buck. Yeah, I came just busting in the door here. Jackson, you got me hooked up. I mean, I can hear me.
You're all good, Coach.
Okay, thanks, Jackson. just checking. I know I gave you guys a lot of warning that I was going to come flying in here, but I was just down at the Omni. So anyway, I'm here, and let's go.
I'd rather do it this way. Nothing puts a better vibe on a Friday than a surprise Coach Mack in studio visit, I would say.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Let's roll.
Let's do it. Let's talk some ball. So, I was telling Mac that I was listening to some podcasts over the break and focusing a lot on defensive football and how the mobility of quarterbacks becoming so much more prominent across the board is having to change the way that defensive coordinators and defensive coaching staffs handle that. Specifically, guys who have been pocket passers, how often you could rely on them working through their progressions as opposed to just taking off and trying to make plays. And so, Mac, I wonder your opinion on that as a trend first and foremost, and then we can talk about the nuts and bolts of how defensive coordinators are having to adjust to make sure that they're prepared for the quarterbacks with the enhanced mobility that we're seeing all over the place now.
Well, let's go through a timeline evolution. I mean, when I first got into the league, most everything, especially first and second down, was underneath center. You were underneath center, and then most of the things, even passes, on first and second down, were play action. And they were 7-step drops. So you're deeper in the pocket. And so that's different to begin with. And because they were deeper, they were able to take more progression reads, because it happens so much quicker. As the game has evolved and expanded more horizontally, and you started getting more shotgun, the ball started coming out quicker. And as the ball comes out quicker, that changes your eye discipline on defense at the second, third levels. It changes your rush patterns up front. It changes a lot of things because the launch angles are different. The launch points are different. And also then you've got to really concentrate not only on patterns downfield, but the way patterns coincide with each other. You got to concentrate really on spot tackling, and you got to concentrate on, if you're playing zone defense, you've got to really get good directional delivery keys to do that. In a drop back passing game, when they drop back in the cylinder, you've got a little more time to take 90-degree exit angles to get deeper, because routes are going to be coming deeper. So it changes a lot of the things. And then once the RPO started coming in, the run pass option thing, where you not only had to play quicker routes, you also had to be able to play the run. And normally, you could anchor in, you get your cleats in the ground when I first started in, because, it was a tight end on one side or the other and normally two wideouts. Very seldom would they have two tight ends on the same side of the field. So you had an open side and a closed side, but you could anchor your cleats in pretty much on the front seven to play the run. It's hard to do that anymore because, especially in a conflict downs for the defense on first down, when you're in shotgun, you're in 11 personnel or something that looks like 11 personnel where you've got numbers or numbers plus splits. Now all of a sudden, especially on first down, you're playing 50-50 run pass, and then even still, with so much audibling that's going on at the line of scrimmage now, counting boxes, you still got to be able to account for the run and the quick throw passing game. So it's changed quite a bit. That's why you've seen linebackers, Buck. I know you've seen this. Our listeners are sophisticated enough. They've gotten smaller.
Yeah.
Second-level linebackers have gotten smaller, and at the same time, you've seen safeties now that are hybrids. That'll start out in a two shell, roll down to a middle of the field closed look, and be able to play the run. And that's why your nickel players have really become very, very specialized players in the National Football League because they're starters, but they've also got to be able to read the tackle to their side. They're going to be asked to fill a gap especially to the backside if action goes away from them, which is normally the B gap, unless you're stunning the lineman down in there. So there's a lot of changes that have gone on with that. And but from your basic premise that you talked about, that you were listening to, it's true.
Well, and that is, I think, something so key for the audience to understand, because here in Tennessee, they have a coaching staff that seems particularly adept at it, because the three, and there's many, many talented defensive coaches across the league, just as there are offensive coaches, but the three defenses that come to mind who are particularly adept at handling quarterback mobility, as we've seen that evolution and how creative they get with their defenses as a result, Tennessee under Bowen and Mike Vrabel, Bill Belichick, obviously, and Lou Anarumo in Cincinnati are the three that come to mind for me. Now, they're not necessarily running the same kind of defenses, although there are similarities, I'm sure, when you put on the tape from concepts that have been taken from one coaching staff to another and things of that nature. But when I mention those three staffs in particular, what comes to mind for you?
Well, first of all, the one thing that all of those guys have in common is this. Most of their better bogeys or disguises come out of four-man fronts. You can do it out of five-man fronts, but most of them come out of four-man fronts. And then their rush patterns, a lot of times you've got to be very disciplined, Buck, when you're rushing with four and you've got somebody in the shotgun. First of all, you've got to be able to collapse a center guard triangle somehow, or you've got to have somebody in there that draws a double team. And Jeffrey Simmons, Aaron Donald, those types of people, Trey Hendrickson, those guys draw double teams, okay, when they're down inside. So now you know what you're working with, at least on one side. The other thing, when we talk about rush patterns against those types of offenses, you've got to be able to cage rush your outside guys. They've got to be disciplined. If somebody's in a 7-step drop, Buck, back there, you can really skim the edge really fast and start to get up to the top before you motorcycle lean the arc. When they're in a shotgun, you're going to have to be able to get off really quickly, but you've got to run that arc a lot quicker and sooner, and you can't afford to get up and move past the launch point, because if you do and you don't have enough pressure on the center guard triangle, you got problems because they can maneuver. These quarterbacks, you started off talking about mobile quarterbacks. The better mobile quarterbacks in the league are not guys that take off outside the pocket. They're not guys that escape and bail out of the back of the pocket.
Right.
They're those guys that can manipulate that center guard triangle and still with their eyes downfield. So your edge people have to be able to run the arc, but it's a lot shorter arc, and it has to be a lot more violent. So you have to be more violent coming off and being able to catch a shorter edge. All of that stuff goes into it. Now, the next thing that comes into it is bogeying and disguising, because that's huge. If people are going to run the run and shoot, and the ball's going to be out of there very quick, you need to run what we call trap coverages. In other words, make it look one way, do the other, roll a corner to the sides you think, their primary outlet might be on a horizontal route to the outside, so you can trap and steal that route. And then the other thing you've got to be able to do, you've got to be able to protect the middle of the field from the slot player. Because the slot player on the middle of the field, if you're singled up in there, it's only one real gadget move, and then all of a sudden he's over the middle with some space. There's always spaces in zone defenses, and there's always weak points of man defenses. You have to understand, as quick as the ball is coming out now, where those soft spots are, and you've got to be able to defend those. And the best way to defend a lot of it is pre-snap looks. Pre-snap looks are vital. So you want a quarterback, depending on how adept they are, you've got to be able to make them really believe they're seeing something pre-snap that they don't get post-snap. Does that make sense?
Yes, and it's just like things have become so much more complicated, not just because of the intricacy of the chess match that you're describing, Mac, for the audience, but because the athletes are getting so much better. Like when I watch Fred Warner run with CeeDee Lamb and that be the correct answer for the quarterback, you're going to throw with the wide receiver who's got a linebacker in coverage on him, except Fred Warner is running with him the entire way and ends up being able to defense the pass. Like that kind of stuff just makes, I have to imagine it drives offensive coordinators and quarterbacks crazy.
Well, but you have to have those type of athletes. That's why the Chicago Bears, when Buddy Ryan started the 46, and then, we continued with some of the things that he was doing, was so unique in the fact that there was a lot of those defenses in the 46 where Mike Singletary was the middle runner. I mean, he was the middle of the field player, either in man-to-man, as you said, getting on a backside hip and running the middle, or being a true middle player, And so a lot of it depends on the athletes that you have. But you have to marry the athletes at the second and third level, Buck, with the pressure. The pressure's huge. It's still all a timing element, because if they have enough time anybody in this league can get open. You can only play plaster coverage for so long in the National Football League. Then it becomes flag football in the backyard, where you can't touch them, but you got to be able to keep up with them. So timing your pressure with your coverage is critical. But those seconds between 2.2 and 3 seconds are vital. I mean, and it may not sound like much, that 1/8 of a second, but it's everything in coverage.
No, absolutely. Coach Dave McGinnis of Titans Radio here with us on 104.5 The Zone. You can check out the OTP. You can check out Titans Amy and Coach Mack podcast, everything that they're doing at TennesseeTitans.com. And we're very happy to have Coach Mack in studio today. With that being said, Mac, to talk more about what the Titans do and what Bowen specifically has done as he's kind of grown into this role, every time I talk to coaches at the Combine or the Senior Bowl or stuff like that, just to see who they're interested in. When I talk to defensive coaches, and I'm sure you talk to far more than I do on a regular basis, they bring up the Titans on a regular basis just to kind of turn them on and see what's going on, see what Bowen and the staff are running, see the different way that they're deploying those kind of pressures, that they're marrying those concepts with that pressure or simulating pressures, all these different things that they're trying to do, because it seems at any point they're willing to do just about anything to make sure that they can make that defense a success.
Well, and Shane Bowen and Mike Vrabel, I mean, they do a tremendous job with it, and a lot of it stems from because they work out of a 3-4 base, but with a 3-4 base, they can morph to that 4-man front or morph from the 4 to the 5-man front so quickly. I mean, it really, really, puts doubt in the mind. It also changes the gaps. You'll see a lot of people that will start out, the Titans are really, really good against the run because people will start out trying to figure out if they're going to see, a 5 or a 4-man front early on. And it makes a hell of a difference in the blocking, whether if you're running inside-outside zone, still makes a difference on your angles. But if you're running any power gap, counter gap schemes, it makes a big difference on who that puller's looking for and who the block back's coming with. And so that starts it all. But their bogeying in the backfield is what I really like to watch and their simulated pressures. They will run a lot of simulated pressures because it looks like it's a blitz, but it's basically, a 4-man pressure coming out of a 5-front look. So you're right. And I stay very current on what's going on both sides of the ball. But when I am at the Combine, I'll spend some time talking to, a lot of defensive coaches just as to what the next iteration is. Because as a defensive coach, which I did for half my adult life in this league, the thing that you always are trying to do, you're not only trying to defend the trend, you're trying to get ahead of the trend.
Sure.
And that's what Buddy Ryan did. Let's go way, way back. He got ahead of the trend, and he made people start splitting people out. So now what you've got to do is be able to start defending the short ball, the quick ball, but you also – that's why your corners are so vital. Guys that can lock up and play man, and not lose 50% of the time. They're going to lose, but if they can win over the 50% mark on one-on-one battles, that allows you to do so many more things with your chess pieces inside of wherever the two wideouts are on the field. It's amazing. And so that's what you look for. I mean, the years I was a defensive coordinator at Arizona, when we had good defenses and could take the ball away, I had one lockdown guy in Aeneas Williams. And so I knew that we were in the NFC East then, Buck, and I knew if I could put him on Michael Irvin and then take the other 10 guys, and then we had a chance because then we could gang up on Emmitt Smith. We could do so. Your corners are vital in the National Football League nowadays. Just because if you got somebody that can lock somebody up, it gives you more numbers.
And you're talking about a Hall of Fame caliber corner there, obviously. And at this point, like getting over the 50% mark, like I have to imagine coaching defensive backs has to be one of the most. I mean, it's all super intensive all the time in the National Football League, of course, but like not only getting them to realize that, but continuing to make sure that they are present for that. And just generality is like, turn the page, on to the next play, all these things that you hear coaches say over and over again, so they start to just kind of wash over you, but emphasizing that point every time because you know that it's never more true than it is at that position.
Well, and never more true than it is in today's football.
Sure.
Because they're going to complete passes on you, and they're going to make yards. It's still about keeping the score down. It's still about keeping the score down, and it's still about winning on third down. Because you win on third down, at least you've limited series. But used to be, I mean, we would have when I first started out, I would make the gold charts. We had 10 major gold points, and the first one was hold the opponent to 17 points or less. And early on in my career, we had dudes that could do that, but you were playing offenses that if you could dominate them, you could do that.
Sure.
Now they can score 17 points the first quarter.
Yeah.
So it's your mindset has to change a little bit as far as to what's going on. But we talk about corners. I mean, amnesia's got to be part of their DNA because they're going to get beat. And sometimes when they get beat, it's very costly, and really, as for the uninitiated watching it, it's the easiest thing to see because it's out in the open. A lot of the stuff that goes on between the tackles, kind of hard to discern unless you get the film out with the cowboy and start going over it back and forth. So corners live in a different world.
Coach Dave McGinnis of Titans Radio here in studio with us on 104.5 The Zone. Always a great pleasure to hang out with Coach Mack. You talk about staying current, coaches continuously trying to stay ahead of the trends, not just adapt to the trends as they happen. On the offensive side of the ball, I wonder what kind of feedback you get, Coach Mack, when you talk to other coaches about where the running game is at right now in the NFL. No roster is necessarily constructed the same, though we understand that teams have a certain type or style that they try to play to. But in particular, running the football on first down. Now, I'm not trying to lump all first down runs into the same box because I know there's all different ways that you can run the football on first down that can play into that efficiency. But I wonder just generally what the conversation is about running the ball on first down around coaches in the NFL.
Well, offensive coaches always want to get ahead of the change. So however you're able to do that, you do that. And it can change week to week. But whether you run for 5 yards on first down or throw for 5 yards on first down, it's the same thing. All of a sudden now you've put the defense into a conflict situation because, 2nd and 5 is a problem for defenses. All right. So, so defenses, on the other hand, try to limit first downs, whether you run. Most defenses really like you to throw it on first down because if it's incomplete, very rarely, if you run the football, very rarely is it going to be a 2nd and 10.
Right.
If it's incomplete, it's 2nd and 10, which takes the favorite in the defense a big plus. Now, all of a sudden, you can forget a lot of things and you can narrow down what they can do. But whether you run it or throw it, and talking with a lot of offensive coaches, because I like to just, stay on top of what's going on with this league,
Sure.
and you can see it. It's getting ahead of the chains. Getting ahead. I mean, it boils down to that simple, Buck.
Not playing third down.
Offenses are trying to get ahead of the chains, and defenses are trying to put the offense behind the chains. Because when you flip it percentage-wise in your favor on the offensive or the defensive side, you've got a much better chance to make them punt. And offensively, if you are ahead of the chains, you've got a much better chance to extend the series. So it's not an either-or thing.
615-737-1045. We've got some calls. Mac, you want to take some calls?
Sure, I love the callers. I love the fans.
We certainly know that they love Coach Mack. We're always grateful for his presence. Who says you can't talk some real ball on July the 7th when there's no football going on? That's why we love having Coach Mack around. Tyreek is in Nashville up first. What's happening?
What's up, Buck?
Not much.
Okay, this is my question, man. I was wondering, is there any way y'all can tell Mike Vrabel to release Aaron Brewer? Like, I'm going to be honest with you. I think he's the weakest link on the Tennessee Titans offensive line right now. It was Dennis Davis, but it's to a point where you got to look at a guy and you say he shouldn't have no home on this offensive line. He struggled so bad last year, and I just want to know what you guys thought about that.
Matt, his phone line's not great, Mac, so I don't know if you got the bulk of the call, but basically Aaron Brewer's performance last year and Titans fans who are skeptical of a player that size on the offensive line.
Well, moving to center is if you're going to be outsized, okay, either on offense or defense, you got to have some compensating differences physically. His is his strength and his quickness, okay? I mean, you can take it to the other side. I mean, I was in on, the vetting and the drafting of Aaron Donald, and people passed him till the 13th pick because what? He was too short.
Yeah.
Okay, but he has compensating differences. Aaron Brewer is a really good athlete, and I think the move to center is a really good move for him. Some of the best centers I've been around in my career, I mean, a guy that made the Pro Bowl consistently when I was with the Bears was Jay Hilgenberg, that was very undersized, but was a very accomplished wrestler, was a very good athlete. That's different. the center is much different than the guard and the tackle position just because of you're going to have help on both sides of you as a center. So Aaron Brewer is athletic enough to compensate for a size deficiency.
And that's been the position that, at least I know he's had to fill in. They've had injuries all over the place, of course, so like it is what it is. And of course, the injury is the root cause of all their issues in the last couple of years, even though they've still been able to maintain some level of success. Brewer, it sounds like that's where they more naturally envision him. Anytime Ben would miss a snap here or there, it didn't happen very often, but that's where Brewer would be more often than not, and you can understand that that's kind of the trajectory it seems like they had him on.
No, absolutely. And you know, look, nobody's ever given a slot in the National Football League. You're close enough to it. It's hard to make a roster in the National Football League, and nobody's going to give you a spot just because they like you. You've got to be able to play, and Aaron Brewer can play.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. Mac, we're not that far away from training camp, bud. It's right around the corner.
We'll be in New Orleans before you know it.
Oh, I don't know why I do this every year. I feel like it just sneaks up on me, and I'm not ready. And then there it is.
Let me give you a good marker. let me give you a good marker, like a buoy out in the middle of the water. When July 4th hits, you're on the bottom end of the slide.
Let's go time.
Yeah.
Coach Dave McGinnis, kind enough to give us his time as always. On this Friday, we always love our time with Coach Mack. If you enjoy time with Coach Mack's going to be hanging out at the bowling event coming up on July the 13th. I really appreciate the way that you've supported this event now, heading into the second one that we've done, Mack, and I know that fans always appreciate you showing up and doing Coach Mack things, and I know that a lot of them are excited to spend some time with you and raise some money for a really, really good cause on Home Street Home.
I am going to be there. The first one was great. I really enjoyed interacting with everybody. It was a great night. This is going to be a great night. And I will be right in the middle of it, Buck. I'll see you then.
This man does not stop. He's got all kinds of obligations, and still he finds time to make it work for all of us. Coach Dave McGinnis, thanks for hanging out.
Thanks, Buck.
Coach Mack, always a good time. Our new segment, a new regular recurring segment called Friday Fire, coming up next. Yeah, see, immediately in a better mood. Immediately in a better mood. We stand Paramore, even if it's just the one song. I might make Lucas play it every day next week just to make me happy.
I'll be in here next week.
You'll be in here next week?
Yeah, Lucas is going to be with you.
What do you mean he's going to be with me?
He's going to be in there.
Why?
Because he's hosting for Blaine and Mickey.
He's hosting for Blaine and Mickey all week? So I have to deal with it? No. I have to deal with the public gassiness. It's not even like flatulence. It's just the burps. It's the sharp burps that I cannot stand. Yeah, that'll help soothe me. Yes. All right. Well, that's your assignment. Paramore, all kinds of different Paramore songs next week when I have to deal with Lucas in studio with me. God help me. Tyler Dial in the F&M Bank chat says Lucas is taking the next step in taking over the show. It does seem like I'm being slowly encroached upon. It's just you all breed like rabbits back there. Every time I look up, there's a different producer. It used to be just Lucas. Now there's Lucas and Bert. I got rid of Bert. Now I have Jackson. And then there was some individual whose name I did not know wandering around back there yesterday, looking at me befuddled because I didn't know his name, and then handing Blaine and Mickey some papers that maybe indicate I should know his name. Who is that
His
person?
name is Reed. He's new here. He graduated from Tennessee. Another Vol in the house.
Oh, for God's sakes. You're all exhausting. You know how to fix that? We got a new segment. We're very excited about. I don't know what it's called, but I think we have imaging to suggest what it might be called. Yeah, I like that. Well done, Bert. See? That's positive. You did a good job on the imaging. I'm proud of you. So we're all going to go around the room. This is going to be a Friday installment brought to you by Central Barbecue, the best place for you to consider lunch or dinner. 21 years of competition Memphis-style barbecue. Go to check out their Hillsboro Village location at Central Barbecue. I guess I'll start the bidding. Because this is replacing weekly positivity. I don't have to deal with the CalMap music anymore. Is that right, Bert?
No, that's not true at all. See, when someone wants to pay to do something, I'll make anything. But that doesn't mean I'm going to toss my childish things aside. It's not like I'm going to stop trying to be a dinosaur, you know?
Well, I do appreciate. I would say that. How are you faring in your endeavors to become a dinosaur?
It's tough. Worried about asteroids. A lot of competition for food.
Well, we do seem to be teetering on the brink of existential crisis on the planet on a regular basis now. But that's not the theme of Friday Fire. The theme is positivity. My Friday Fire comes to us courtesy of the NBA, the team of my youth, the team of my birth, the Indiana Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton got a $260 million extension from the Pacers yesterday. He went full Kevin Durant at the podium. It was a very, very touching moment, and that's what this segment is about. Let me hear from him.
There's so many people here for me to thank, but I'd be wrong to not start with my mom. I don't know, a lot of people don't know this. My mom missed my first ever game my freshman year of college because the plane didn't take off to get to Lubbock to go to watch Texas Tech. So before my freshman year, my mom had never missed a game of mine. So my mom has been my everything for me to get here. I can't even put into words to explain everything, but I'm just really appreciative of you, Mom, because of, all the stuff of us growing up and pushing me to, be where I am today and, making sure I could get every trip, making sure my teammates made it to every trip. It just means a lot to me. So I love you, and I'm really appreciative of you. So thank you, Mom. I love you.
That was lovely. It was Tyrese Halliburton. He did everything but you, the real MVP. That's my Friday Fire this week. Go ahead, Bert.
He is now kicked to me. My Friday Fire, it's pretty simple. We are 50 days away from SEC football. And if that doesn't get you excited, if that doesn't brighten your Friday, I don't know what to tell you. Joe Milton is going to be throwing footballs out of stadiums. Tennessee is going to be back. Rocky Top will be playing all throughout the hallways here at the 104.5 The Zone Studios. That is my Friday Fire.
God, no wonder the Vanderbilt fans hate us. And when I say us, I don't mean Vols fans. I mean the radio station. We are a half mile from Vanderbilt's campus, and Jackson is talking about playing Rocky Top, blaring Rocky Top through the halls. And of course, because there's a former Vols offensive lineman, there's a former Vols basketball player, and there are former Vols VFLs all over the damn place. Joshua England says gross. Yeah, I feel like your Friday Fire being Joe Milton throwing footballs out of stadiums is not exactly something that you want to happen, because in fact that is my biggest question about Joe Milton is, can he keep the football inside the stadium?
Watching that guy throw a football, I don't care where he goes sometimes. If we're playing like a D3, like East Indiana Community College for the blind, it's so much fun to watch him throw a football.
Those blind football players will sneak up on you. Bert, are you prepared? This is your design. You're the brainchild for the Friday Fire. Are you still hesitant? Are you still scared for the microphone? I can't get you off a microphone now. I can't get you to get near one.
I'm here. I'm always ready. I don't know why you think that I'm unprepared.
Because I threw it to you, and then you threw it back to Jackson like a scared child might.
No, to be completely honest, I was pointing at him to cut my mic on.
Oh, so it was my fault?
I wasn't going to throw you under the bus.
I just did. It's your fault.
All right, so my Friday Fire, it has nothing to do with sports, because I feel like we talk enough sports on this station. Like it's all we could do. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my life, very briefly.
Oh, good.
I don't know if you guys heard last week when I was what's the best way to put this? I was adorned with a beautiful skunk in my backyard. To which I had to chase off for my cats. So last night, and as I do most nights, I got the back door open. I'm kind of cooking, chilling, playing music, and I can hear this scuffle, this kerfluffle going on in the backyard. So I poke my head out there, and I see both of my cats. And you know, cats, when they get mad, they get real fluffed up. They're trying to make themselves big as possible. Both of them are fluffed up like they stuck a fork in an electric socket, just pressing up on not a baby skunk this time, a full-grown adult skunk.
Oh, I don't want that.
And this skunk was as scared as I was. So both my cats just put on their game faces, scared this skunk out of the backyard, and then came back to me as if to say, oh, thank you. Thank you for not interfering, Dad. We really wanted to kick that guy's ass on our own. So it's nice to me to know that I can leave my back door open and I will be safe from any skunk predators pursuing themselves into my house. So I've got to say shout out to Winston and Paris. You guys did a great job. Everybody that said, no, you need a dog to protect your house. You can't have a bunch of cats. Meow, you got to have a dog. Shout out to Coastal Carolina's coach. I can't remember his name, but shout out to him. So shout out my cats, man. Appreciate you guys protecting the homestead and keeping the skunks out of the house. The only thing skunky in the house is me.
Jackson, we have not determined this since we've welcomed you into this very, very fragile ecosystem. Are you a dog or a cat person?
I've only had dog. I'm allergic to cats. Sneezing, puff up. It's the whole thing.
That's too bad.
And I've been fired.
That's a shame.
Well, not fired, but like famously, this is the cat show. Like Lucas has a cat, Bert has 2 cats, I have 2 cats. Chigaconquo has a cat. Austin White. No, what was the last Titans player we had on here that has a cat?
Josh Wiley.
Is it Josh? I said Austin Wiley. Josh Wiley
has a cat.
Also has a cat.
So we will be adopting a cat for Jack. That will be the thing that Jackson has to fix on the wheel. He will have to adopt a cat.
No.
Much like you will have to adopt a child.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Where is the wheel? I was told we have the wheel.
It's downstairs in promotions, but I think they need it more readily than we do.
They don't need it. It's broken. You told me the wheel was broken.
Would you like me to go get it?
Not now.
In the break, obviously. Goober.
I don't want to be sent into the weekend with the threat of me having to adopt a child just because you've spun the wheel and it landed on that for me.
Well, you better hope the wheel didn't land on it.
I hate the wheel. We haven't even done the wheel yet, and I already hate
seen it.
No, but I know what it is. I know that the game is already going to be rigged. It's like every time I say something embarrassing in the microphone and then you all immediately turn it around and use it against me, so I'm arguing with myself on the air. I was waiting for it. Thank you, Jackson.
I had the wrong mouse. That's my
Okay.
fault.
That's what a cat will do for you. Get the right mouse.
I think it's...
Go ahead.
No, it was a good joke.
Oh, okay, cool. Nice. It was, wasn't it, Buck?
I hate that worse than any... I hate a lot of things. I hate that worse than anything else that we do around here. Well, that one just doesn't make any sense.
That makes it better.
Yeah. I do love that in sitting in Lucas's seat for the better part of a week at this point, that the incompetence of that chair has overtaken Jackson to where he was fine. He was fine. First day, we were great. We were crisp. We were pristine. Now, 2 days in, 3 days in, he's using the wrong mouse and checking out during the show and talking to Robert during segments where I'm trying to actively engage the both of them. It's that chair. I swear to God, it's that chair.
It's pretty comfy. Good back support.
Thus the complacency. Thank you for your time, Bert. Shadows, please.
See you next week.
615-737-1045. That's Friday Fire. We're going to do it every Friday, courtesy of Central Barbecue. Go check it out in Hillsboro Village, the old Sportsman's Grill location. Who are the 10 most interesting players in this coming NFL season? ESPN put together a list. We'll tell you who's on it coming up next.
Hey, what's going on? 12 o'clock, almost on the dot.
Oh, for
From the
God's sakes.
104.5 The Zone Studios, I'm Robert Walsh. That's Buck Reising. College baseball transfer news. The Vols snagged former Clemson slugger Billy Amick as he announced he's heading to Knoxville. The All-ACC Amick hit .413 with 13 homers and 63 RBIs for Clemson in 2023. And in the NBA, the Portland Trailblazers are matching restricted free agent Matisse Thybulle's 3-year, $33 million offer sheet with the Dallas Mavericks. And in the Summer League, the Jazz snuffed out the Grizzlies 98-83, and the Thunder struck out the Sixers 100-91, where former Vol Jaden Springer had a team-high 17 points to go along with 5 boards, 2 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Hour number 3. Call it third down if you want. Welcome in. Welcome back. Lovely to have you either way, whether you're hanging out with us on FM radio, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch, the 104.5 The Zone app, or podcast after the fact. We're happy to have you. You can jump in on the conversation via the aforementioned streaming platforms. It's called Zone TV. We can read your comments there. Take your phone calls as well. It's our last opportunity to do so this week before we all head into the weekend. 615-737-1045 is the number. So I am prepared to talk about the 10 most impactful or most interesting players of the 2023 NFL season. That is what I had scheduled to do here, but as this show is wont to do, anything that we have scheduled gets quickly tossed aside by the first thing that runs in front of us because squirrel. The attention span of a small rodent around here. Jackson, what were you saying to me in my ear literally as my microphone was turned on? It bothered me a great deal.
How does it feel that your song was stolen by Grimace?
All right. What is the origin of this? Grimace is so I don't know at what point McDonald's stopped doing the cartoons around like Ronald McDonald and the Hamburglar and Grimace, but I have seen Grimace in particular making a comeback. Not the
Grimace
creepy,
has been making a comeback. They've been doing his birthday celebration thing.
So not only is he trying to infringe upon my music, he's trying to infringe upon my birthday too?
He had a June birthday.
Oh, well, that's fine.
But it ran into July.
Well, that's unacceptable. That's my month. Back off, you big purple blob. It's like Big Red's ugly cousin at Western Kentucky. Well, I guess Grimace is probably older than Big Red. Either way. So what do you mean he's stealing the music?
So this has been your intro for how long? 2 years?
As long as the show's been on the air, so March of 2021.
So yes, 2 years.
About.
So I was watching Hulu the other day. McDonald's commercial came on. This song is the music playing as Grimace is frolicking around with different McDonald's products.
It's unacceptable. Unacceptable. One, this music is not for everyone. It's just for me. And Grimace, much less to have it stolen by a fictional character for a fictional birthday celebration for a fast food company who I don't frequent, but I will if they start to spend money on the radio station. We welcome you at any point, McDonald's. Come on by. But I would say that me and Grimace can fight. You're talking about which of my colleagues in Titans Media you could set me up with Elon Zuckerberg style in one of these cage matches. I'll go for. I'll end Grimace. I'll end that big ugly purple blob right now. I'll even wear my Grimace. Schaefer used to call. I have a purple suit that I wore. I had a suit made. It's purple's my favorite color, so it would make me sad to have to end Grimace because he is my favorite color. But I'll do it. I'll do it without thinking about it. Better step off.
I think we should start with like a cease and desist before we resort to violence against a fictional character.
Nope. Straight to violence. Don't like sportsmanship. Don't like diplomacy. Just violence.
That is the way of the world.
Cronky says, oh, the Joker suit. Yeah, I only wear it on Halloween because it does, it's very, very loud. It's a very, very loud suit. I do, I think I look great in anything, which, is part of the self-involvement and narcissism. But I do like the purple suit, but it's only for the Halloween game. And this year, no, I think we do have a Halloween game because the bye week is if the Titans are playing the Ravens on October 15th, then the bye would be the following, and we would still have a game on Halloween. So I believe we're back that weekend or that week for the Falcons. Is that right?
It'd be like the 29th.
Okay. I think the Falcons is the opponent.
You said the 15th, right?
15th is the Ravens.
So a week later would be the 22nd. A week later from that would be the 29th.
Look at that. When Lucas is gone, we're even better at math. Love that for us. So, with the 2023 NFL season in mind, grimace suit or not, ESPN has put together a list of the 10 most important players heading into the 2023 NFL season. Now, I don't know whether you think there should be a Titan on this list or not. That is not the case at this point. Now, if you would like to make the argument, I suppose you are welcome to. I don't know that I necessarily could make the argument for a Titan player cracking the top 10 most interesting or most intriguing 20 players for the 2023 NFL season. I will tell you that there is a representative from the AFC South on this list, and it's going to upset you. Can you take a guess? Which AFC South player? It's a very, very broad brush that I'm allowing you to paint with here, Jackson. But if I had to pick one AFC South player that it would bother Titans fans to no end to see on this list, who do you think it would be?
Jonathan Taylor.
That is correct. He is on the list. I think that Jonathan Taylor, just the Colts. Corey Curtis was in here from WKRN yesterday, and he said the Colts and the Patriots are two of the NFL teams that are treated like royalty, even though they haven't mattered for quite some time at this point. For the Patriots, it's been more recent than the Colts. I would say that that the Colts have not been meaningfully relevant. Phillip Rivers would be the last time. That was 2020. Yeah, 2020. Rivers was the COVID season, right?
Yeah, but would you have called them a legitimate contender?
They made the playoffs, so yes. If you make the playoffs, I consider you a contender because the NFL playoff formats in most sports but the NBA are super random. And I think if you get in, you're considered a contender. Like the Jags last year. Most people probably don't consider them a contender. They won a playoff game because football's weird, you know? So if you get in.
Drunk.
Huh?
That game was drunk.
That game was ridiculous. So I was watching that game. Well, I'll be honest. I went on a bit of a bender after the end of football season because I've never had that much time off in January. Normally I'm working because they've made the playoffs every year. And so I had the opportunity to watch that game at a bar. So I might have been as drunk as that game was. But I was watching that game on my phone in a bar screaming because at some point we all realized, oh my God, the Jags are going to win. Wow, that was an incredible game. But yes, Jonathan Taylor is on the list of the 10 most intriguing football players in 2023, according to ESPN. I don't understand why the NFL has a fascination with the Colts the way that they do, or NFL media has a fascination with the Colts the way that they do. I would argue that the Colts haven't been meaningfully relevant since I was in college. 2014, I'm pretty sure that was the year that Luck went to the AFC Championship game and then just got rolled over by Tom Brady, and that's how Deflategate started, if memory serves.
Yeah, it would have been 2014.
2014 is the last meaningful Colts season that I remember. We're coming up on there being almost a decade of that not being the case anymore. Jack Shepard says Peyton Manning effect. Yeah, but Peyton's been gone Peyton's retirement, I think, was my freshman year of college. No, I'm sorry. Peyton going to the Broncos was my freshman year of college. Peyton's retirement, I'm pretty sure he won the 2015 Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was the Cam Newton dream MVP season, and then the Broncos defense carried Peyton Manning.
Right. So let's just say, for the purposes of the Colts, that's been longer than 10 years at this point. That the Colts that there would be any kind of Peyton Manning effect. Is a Peyton Manning effect still enough to linger for the better part of a decade? I don't think so. Even as much as media coverage, like outlets like ESPN and The Athletic, they devote more resources to the Colts as a fan base than a lot of NFL teams across major media markets. And while I think Indianapolis, I'd have to check this. I'm sure the demographics are changed substantially for Nashville, even in the last 5 years as far as population is concerned. But I'm pretty sure Metro Indy is still bigger than Metro Nashville. So market size isn't really a thing there. So I wish that I could provide you the explanation, other than they just like to piss off Titans fans by putting Jonathan Taylor on lists that Derrick Henry is not on. But these are the 10 players: Kyler Murray, Stephon Diggs, Jonathan Taylor, and this is in no particular order: Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Donald, Tua, Jared Goff, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Devontae Adams. It's a pretty compelling list. I certainly couldn't Jonathan Taylor is an interesting player because I want to know if it's real. We talked about him as as the most recent running back MVP in or anywhere close to MVP discussions, right? The year that Derek got hurt. Kyler's just going to miss so much of the season that I would probably make an argument for a player who was going to be available. That was a late December. I think that might have been a January ACL tear.
It was week 16.
It was super late in the season, and I'm trying to find out. I'm trying to look through this to see where or when exactly he did tear his ACL. I don't have the date in this write-up specifically. But either way, he's making $39 million this year, which makes him interesting enough because what the Cardinals are going to do at quarterback. So I'd say the Cardinals quarterback position more than Kyler Murray himself. But $39 million this year after having not done anything meaningful in the NFL, I don't know that I would put Kyler Murray on that list. Stephon Diggs, because of everything that's going on around the Bills right now and because of that division, how much scrutiny there's going to be on the AFC, Stephon Diggs is legitimately interesting. He's a loud personality. He's a loud character. I know Josh Allen was on Bussin' with the Boys as recently as this week. That might have been their July 4th episode.
Yeah, I think it was Tuesday.
So I haven't gotten the opportunity to listen to it yet. I know that Will put out a couple of clips of Josh Allen, of asking Josh Allen the Stephon Diggs question about where their relationship is or something to that effect. And I apologize, I haven't heard it yet. But he is a legitimately interesting figure just because that division is going to be fascinating. It's going to be one of the most talked about divisions in football. And I would argue he's the Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle both being in that division. I still think I might take Stephon Diggs over those two, just because Stephon Diggs is Tyreek Hill is such an electric football player, though. It's probably 1A and 1B. Jonathan Taylor, though. So the case for Jonathan Taylor is I would probably have replaced him with Saquon Barkley, given the contract situation that Saquon Barkley is currently, negotiating on behalf of all running backs. Jammin says that list is so anti-Cleveland Browns. Well, it's not because Deshaun's on here, so I don't know why it would be anti unless the case. Deshaun Watson was objectively awful. I know he was 3-3, but he was terrible. And, what have the Browns done to deserve any kind of notoriety other than sign the Predator quarterback and give him the most guaranteed money in history? So, yeah, I would say that any anti-Brown sentiment is earned, given that they weren't good last year, that their best quarterback was Jacoby Brissett, and the last time I saw Deshaun Watson play football, the story around him was more notable than his play on the field. So, yeah, I would say that anti-Brown sentiment is probably earned. And by the way, anytime we do, because D-Good points it out in the chat, anytime we do hype up the Browns in the offseason, they do things like get their asses kicked by the Titans in week 1 of 2019. And Delaney Walker is spouting off in the locker room. They are who we thought they were. The Browns perpetually that. Russell for sure. Devontae Adams for sure, given the quarterback situation in Vegas. But yeah, I think you could put a number of different running backs in that spot to represent the running back position that would be more interesting than Jonathan Taylor. Let's see. So this is the write-up. Dan Graziano is the reporter who put the piece together. I wrestled with which running back to put here to represent the sorry state of the position's current market. Oof. Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, and Tony Pollard are all on franchise tags. I would say all three of those players I add parenthetically, Saquon, Josh Jacobs, and Tony Pollard are all more interesting to me personally than Jonathan Taylor. Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, Kareem Hunt, and Leonard Fournette are all free agents. J.K. Dobbins is somehow upset about his contract, even though he has played a total of 8 games over the past 2 seasons. And he puts in parentheses, Graziano does, seriously, read the room, dude. Yeah, that's dumb. But I picked Taylor, who's entering his 4th season with the Colts and is extension eligible for the first time. He's also coming off of a frustrating, injury-riddled year that started with him being the consensus first overall pick in every fantasy draft and ended with just 861 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. And then I would remind you that Derrick Henry had 1,500-plus rushing yards. And the conversation between those two is, at any point, of Jonathan Taylor being a better running back than Derrick Henry. Again, totally ridiculous. Based on his 2022 season, where he led the league in rushing attempts, yards, and touchdowns, he's worth more than that, but how much more? 4 of the top 5 highest-paid running backs by average annual salary signed their deals in 2020, and the other, Nick Chubb, signed his in 2021. The running back market does not move the way the market does at other positions, and teams don't seem interested in stretching to pay running backs. If you're Taylor, signing now at what you probably believe is a below-market number, coming off your worst season doesn't sound great, but if you play it out and look more like your 2021 self, your best-case scenario is probably a franchise tag. So the case for Taylor is interesting, is not him. I mean, it is, but it's his position group. He is representative of his position group, of the complex that running backs are having to deal with. And so, because somebody has nominated Nick Chubb as being more interesting. What is interesting about Nick Chubb? Apparently Nick Chubb has a personality. I sure as hell haven't seen it. The other interesting thing about Nick Chubb is that he plays in the backfield with the noted predator, Deshaun Watson. So beyond that, again, I have precious little interest in what Nick Chubb might do this season or why Nick Chubb might be more interesting this year than in any other year. There's nothing particularly interesting about Nick Chubb, especially if he's already on a long-term contract and the Browns. I mean, where would you project the Browns in that division? 3rd at best. You're not picking them over the Bengals. You're not picking them over the Ravens. Doesn't mean it can't happen. That division is always hugely competitive. And the Steelers exist to win 9 games and make your life a living hell. I don't think you could make a better argument for the Browns than 3rd. It would be tough for me to pick them. Pick the Steelers over them just because, in the same way that I saw Deshaun Watson look terrible at football last year. Kenny Pickett was fine, but not great by any stretch of the imagination. We'll see how much improvement he makes in year 2. But I don't think that, I think Taylor is more about the issue at hand for running backs than it is about Jonathan Taylor specifically. I didn't know that J.K. Dobbins was out here bitching about his contract. That's funny. There's a hyperlink to an article from June 15th. Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins frustrated by contract situation. So apparently, I didn't realize this. Bert's not still back there, is he? Okay.
He is not.
We banished him to the shadows for the rest of the show. After sitting out the Baltimore Ravens mandatory minicamp, I didn't realize he sat out mandatory minicamp. J.K. Dobbins apparently expressed his frustration. The business side is very hard. It's very different. You saw with Lamar, it's just never roses and daisies. It can be hard at times, and it's business. He's 24 years old. He's scheduled to make $1.391 million, 24th among running backs. Again, he's played 8 games. So, self-awareness among professional athletes, it's not always a strength, and that's fine. They have to be overwhelmingly confident. They can't express any, self-doubt or lack of confidence, because as soon as you do, you cease to be, the kind of competitor that you strive to be. So, of course, I understand when professional athletes are unrealistic, but that's just nonsense. That's having no feel for what your market currently is or who you are in the league, who you think you are relative to the rest of the talent. J.K. Dobbins is a name, nothing more at this point. We'll see what he and the Ravens can do this year, whether that's worth paying or not. So that's the list of the 10 most interesting NFL players in 2023. I take issue with some of them, but for the most part, there's some pretty compelling storylines there. Speaking of compelling storylines, I saw a headline on Pro Football Talk about Mike Vrabel on the hot seat in 2023. We'll get into that coming up next. So there's a lot of time at this time of year for a lot of people to get out there with a lot of bad opinions. Not just talking heads such as myself. I've known to have a bad opinion or two. But there is, just a lot of dead air, for lack of a better term, when the NFL goes away for the 6 weeks. I personally love it because this is the most vacation time that I get at any point in the year. So I love not having things to talk about in football. It's a blessed reprieve. But when I see something like Mike Florio drops interesting claim about Mike Vrabel's hot seat potential in 2023, then it's going to force me to, it's not going to force me to have to talk about it, but it is so absurd, and it's being sent to me enough that I do feel the need to talk about it. So it's not on Florio's Pro Football Talk live show. It just looks like a live streaming thing that he's doing for NBC where he just takes mailbag questions. Maybe it's a podcast. I'm not sure. But it's on their website, NBCSports.com. And so one of the questions that he got from a listener was this terrible opinion that Mike Vrabel should be on the hot seat in 2023, citing the 7 straight losses to end the season, citing, an inability or a perceived inability by this person who was submitting the question to adapt, given that he's a defensive-minded head coach living in what is a predominantly offensive-driven league. A lot of the same criticisms that you've heard about Mike over time, but more often than not, people are able to see through that and see what a benefit that individual is to you to have as a plus on the sidelines, to have on the competition committee, to know the rule book better or as well as the officials. And so, I see comments like this from Football Fred on YouTube, F&M Bank Chat, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. You can interact with the show. It says, Vrabel coached a 7-game losing streak, including a loss to the Texans, yet he hardly gets any blame for it. I don't know how you could watch that season last year and blame Mike for what went down at all. Now, he's going to bear some responsibility. He's the head coach. Somebody has to take the blame for losses, for mistakes. Mike, while there are moments where things like, repeat offenders on soft tissue injuries happen at a podium, and Mike, he's always told us, I don't say anything to you all. I don't message things through the media. What I'm saying to you is the exact same thing, maybe a gentler version said to the media, but what I'm saying to them is the exact same thing I'm saying to you. Or what I'm saying to you is the exact same thing that I'd say to them being the players. Malik Willis Truther writes, I think Vrabel has proven he's not the problem. And I would more align myself with that line of thinking. Because if you had to blame one thing, and I think we talked about this earlier in the week potentially, but if you had to blame one thing, if you had to pin it on one thing, why they lost 7 straight games, what would it be?
Injuries.
Yes. But even more specific than that.
Quarterback injuries.
Tannehill. The reason they lost 7 straight games is because they couldn't put Ryan Tannehill out there under center. The quarterback situation was the most detrimental thing that happened to that football team last year. Worse than Dennis Daly. Worse than Jeff Simmons' ankle that he had to shoot up full of God knows what for 8 straight weeks or however long it was between the end of the season, between Kansas City and Jacksonville at the end of the year. Between Todd Downing's DUI and, that being the last source of success that they had on November 17th, the last time that football team won a game. Amar says Vrabel should be on the hot seat he said Vrabel should be on the hot seat. Most coaches don't survive a 7-game losing streak. He's lucky Amy likes him, otherwise they would have fired him. Well, no, that's completely out of touch. The only way that he would have gotten fired is if there was a disagreement with the ownership structure. And there was a disagreement internally in the building. The disagreement was between how the football team was being built and what the football team was able to produce. And you know who got fired because of it? The general manager, not Mike. Mike Vrabel has the juice in that organization. to put Mike Vrabel on the hot seat because your quarterback had a high ankle sprain and you bottomed out in ways that I don't even think I know 7 straight losses is horrendous, and I'm not here to justify or give you some kind of loser's argument for moral victories or things like that. But if you bottom out and still win 7 games, you're better than the average football team. You're better than the average coaching staff, and I think most people would assess that. It's like the Rams. The Rams, not a good football team last year. Five wins on the year, but still didn't bottom out. Still found ways to make their roster more competitive than they had any business making it. Still found ways to, do things like plug Baker Mayfield in on short rest and go out there and win a football game on, I think it was a Thursday night. Mike Vrabel would get another job before he had time to tell his family that he had been fired. Mike Vrabel would be one of the most sought-after commodities in professional football. Should there be any indication that he might lose his job here, of which there is none other than him making the occasional joke about it from time to time. Pinning last year on Mike Vrabel completely ignores the circumstance that saw you tailspin the way that you did. And it starts with the root cause. The root cause is that Malik Willis and Josh Dobbs were your quarterbacks to end the year. Dobbs gave them a better fighting chance, ultimately wasn't able to pull it off. You can, bitch about the officiating in the Jacksonville game, and I would be inclined to agree with you, objectively inclined to agree with you. I thought that was a terrible call. The Josh Dobbs called a forced fumble, recovered for a touchdown, what should have been an incomplete pass. Vrabel is the person keeping this thing. Vrabel is the closest thing to Gorilla Glue that you have on this thing that seems very, very tenuous at best. That coaching staff in general is the reason your talent, or lack thereof, consistently plays above its head. We talked to Coach Mack. I think that deal with Mack, that segment we did with Mack is one of the better segments that we've done with Coach Mack, because we were talking some real football there. Like how coaches are looking at the Titans, how coaches try to stay ahead of the trends, and what trends the Titans, honestly, are responsible for setting. Coach Mack gave you the best explanation of any that you've heard of how the Titans play above their level of competition so often. That doesn't mean that it's good enough. It doesn't mean that it's enough to get them over the hump, and we can have that's a different version of the argument. But I'm saying to put any kind of hot seat phrase around Mike Vrabel in 2023 is completely ignoring, 1, the relationship that he has with that organization, and more importantly with the ownership structure. 2, the fact that whether it was a power struggle or not, he won whatever you want to call what happened between John Robinson and the Titans. Mike Vrabel came out clean on the other side of that and had a general manager hired who continues to be deferential to Mike Vrabel in everything that he says. Everything. So if you are somebody who has this opinion, 1, it's a terrible one. Reevaluate. But 2, you're either ignorant or ignoring. Ignorant to, not ignorant specifically, although there may be a degree of ignorance there. You're ignorant to how your football team is being managed, being run in front of your very eyes. And I can't give you a cleaner explanation than the one that's gone down. And, John was fired, the first week of December? Last week in November, somewhere around there?
Yeah, it was right after the Eagles game.
Yeah.
Y'all were at the toy drive.
The toy drive. We were at the toy drive. That is correct. Yeah. It was a big day at the toy drive. Scrambled the Jets. Puka says Vrabel should do soul search about ego and members of the staff he hired. Yeah, he's not going to. In the same way that a soul search. Let me ask Mike Vrabel the next press conference. Hey, Mike, you done any soul searching lately? Yeah, specific to your ego. Yeah, you go a little much lately there, bud. You done any soul searching this offseason? Some self-scouting, perhaps?
Oh, so we're doing the Titans media fights again?
Yeah, no. That's how a member of Titans media dies. That's how my life ends. I think that when you look at the circumstance for Mike, sometimes I'm certain that he is convinced that he knows the best way to go about things And more often than not, he has been proven right to a point where he is going to defer and not doubt himself. You don't want a football coach who doubts himself. Now, self-awareness and self-doubt are two different things. And I do think that as an offensive, philosophy, there could stand to be a degree more of self-awareness. I think that's what they're trying to accomplish with Tim Kelly, although the results of that we won't have until we see. We won't have them to the end of the season, right? We won't be able to talk about what the Titans offense did this year until the season is done. So you understand that these things are going to be taken week by week, but that's really not what you're looking for there. The point being, what is the greatest advantage that the Tennessee Titans have right now as an organization? Top to bottom, personnel, coaching, ownership, resources, finances, like what new stadium plans, whatever you would cite. What's the greatest advantage that the Titans have right now?
Mike Vrabel.
I'd argue that it's Mike. I would absolutely argue it's Mike. That doesn't mean that he's, perfect or that he doesn't make mistakes or that there hasn't been mistakes made or that they can't do a better job than they've done. Clearly, when you lose 7 straight games, something has to change, and they've made a substantial amount of changes. But there is nothing to indicate to me anywhere else on that roster, not Derrick Henry, not Jeff Simmons. The greatest advantage that they have as an organization is that head coach. 615-737-1045 is the number. Is it Stark? Is that what that says?
Yeah, like Tony Stark.
Like Tony Stark. Okay, maybe Tony Stark is a fan of the Titans. Who's to say? Stark is in Nashville up next. Hello?
Hey, Buck. Appreciate it. I just want to say that I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, if Mike Vrabel got fired, he'd get 3 or 4 offers before the ink was even dried on his termination. I mean, that guy, selfishly, I could see him having a bad year and the Browns having a bad year, and he'd be all over the Browns. I mean, being from Northeast Ohio. So I just don't think that, from a coaching standpoint, I agree with you. I think the circumstances, the injuries, the things that he's gone with, he's been loyal to coaches, but he obviously knows what are my other options. We talked about the receivers, who am I going to throw to? So, organizations that have stability, like the Steelers and other places, keep their coach in, when they go in laws. So, I mean, having a coach like Mike Vrabel, people in this market don't understand how fortunate they are to have somebody that can win with 91 players. So I think you're 100% right. And, I support Vrabel all the way.
Thanks for the call. 615-737-1045. Is that the first time you've used the Oscars music all week?
Yes.
Look at you. You're back there thirsty to use it. Vrabel is a Browns fan, or grew up a Browns fan.
Yeah, I don't think he's currently a Browns fan.
I don't know. I don't know. Mike still might. I have no idea.
That can be questioned too. After you ask him about his ego, ask him if he's a Browns fan.
Mike, are you a Browns fan? Are you actively a fan of another NFL organization while coaching one? God, I can picture the face. He has to hate the fact that he has such an expressive face, because as soon as he makes a face, I use them. It's my entire social media inventory. It's the only social media game I have is Vrabel faces.
They're great.
That's what I'm saying. Like I've only got the one move, but it's a hell of a move, and he just keeps making them.
You had your moment with the tracksuit.
Oh, my own there's plenty of those floating around on the internet. I don't need more of those.
I see them under so many of your tweets.
Yeah, I know. Tough scene. Amar says we can't keep making the injury excuses every year. Eventually, the bill comes due. I mean, okay. So what are you going to do when they don't get injured this year, or if they don't get injured this year? Let's not say when they don't get injured this year. There's no way to predict that. Football's weird. Like, if you fire Mike Vrabel because of injuries, you're a dumb football team. Like, you're a dumb organization. If you want Mike Vrabel fired because of the injury situation, given this sport and the nature of it, looking through the injuries, looking through the percentage of them that happen on the field of play, that are things like high ankle sprains, that are not things that are done because of malfeasance in the training room or an underwhelming strength and conditioning staff, whatever the case may be. Like, if you actually go through the Titans injuries and you fire that coach because his football team keeps getting hurt, then you're dumb. And it's not, I'm not going to do the thing where I say, you're not dumb. I'm not calling you dumb. You're displaying the behavior of a dumb person. No, you're dumb. That's how bad organizations stay bad, by making dumb decisions like that. It's the most short-sighted, emotional, irrational decision-making that you can have. If your takeaway from the last 2 seasons, one of those seasons in which you were the number 1 overall seed and your football team choked, that's an accurate assessment. Your football team choked against the Bengals. Them's the breaks. But thank you, Boris. Always there for me. If you are somebody who wants that head coach fired because of the injury situation, completely devoid of context of all the other things that went into those 2 seasons, yeah, a lack of intelligence is going to be the conclusion that I draw. What is that? Is that one of mine? I don't think that's one of mine.
One of yours.
Is it?
Yes.
Where'd that come from?
I have no idea.
Who is that?
It says, Charlie, you're so stupid. I felt like it fit.
Charlie, you're so stupid. I don't know who Charlie is. The
Me neither.
The only Charlie I have is in his 80s. He's very angry, and he lives in Franklin and calls into the radio show when he's tired of us talking about football, when he wants to talk about things like the Corn Ferry Tour and stuff like that coming to Nashville. Love you, Charlie. 615-73.
Charlie.
What?
That wasn't directed at you, Charlie.
Yes, it was. 615-737-1045 is the number. Last call for phone calls if you got them. I'm Buck Reising. It's 1045 The Zone. This isn't Boogie Shoes. What are you doing?
I asked you for the song and you never said anything.
What?
I was running out of time. I
I
said,
can't
hey.
hear you over this person. What are you saying to me?
I said, hey, what's the song on Friday you like? Because I couldn't remember the name.
And then you said, never mind.
No, I said, I'll turn a mic on over there because you walked over there.
Oh,
and
I
then you
didn't hear
never
that.
said anything. And so I was running out of time, threw a song in.
Okay, I hate this.
I'm not that big a fan either, but like, no choice.
All right. Future reference, Boogie Shoes, end of a Friday show. Just, I hate that you waited till the last segment on a Friday to make me miss Lucas. Don't tell him I said that. Be back on Monday, apparently in studio with me burping. Hate that for me, but either way, we'll have a good time. Last call for phone call, 615-737-1045 if you got them. Stemming off our Vrabel conversation, many of you writing in the F&M Bank chat. There it is. Now we're back. Morale is high.
The vibes are back.
The vibes are back. Trippin' Titan says a new quarterback next year. Vrabel gets 2 more seasons automatically. I don't think you can't assume anything automatically in here because Amar says Malarkey won a playoff game and got fired. NFL is a cold business. Yeah, but Malarkey could have won. He could have lost. He was going to get fired anyway. Like they had decided that they were going to fire Mike Malarkey. There was nothing that was going to stop Mike Malarkey from getting fired. And also, Mike Malarkey isn't as good at his job as Mike Vrabel is at his. Like, I think if you can't understand that, then you're not understanding what you're watching on a regular basis. Karen Peak says, now, Buck, I know you know who Elton John is. I do know Elton John. That didn't say Elton John in front of me.
That was Elton John.
Oh, I didn't know that.
This person. That was not a great look.
Damn it, is that why the phone is ringing? People calling and yell at me that I don't. Can I name an Elton John song? Rocket Man, but the new Rocket Man that he does with Dua Lipa. I like that one better than the original Rocket Man. Have you heard that one?
Yeah, it's great.
You're answering phone calls. I'm sorry.
They left. They're probably mad at us. Make the people angry.
Karen says, I can't with you. Trippin' Titan says, how, Buck? How? Because I don't care. How? I don't care. That's the answer. Like, it's just not something that, exists in my life. These are not things that concern me on a regular basis. Like movie quotes. I don't care. Speaking of things that you may or may not care about, not a great tease, but J.J. Watt on television is something that we are all going to be subjected to this year. And I don't know how Titans fans are going to react to that. I don't know who I'm most interested in seeing how they do as a television analyst. Because now Brady's not going to do it this year, but Tom Brady will in 2024, it seems. He's on pace to stick to that contract with Fox. Shane Miles says it's Britney Spears, not Dua Lipa. Damn it, see, I can't even do that right. But J.J. Watt, Matt Ryan, and Mark Ingram are all going to be on television as analysts next season. And I don't know who I'm more interested to watch. Like, J.J. Watt, to me, seems like he would be the best at TV because TV inherently comes with a degree of fraudulence. Like, you're not a real person. You're not really who you are on television. You know what I'm saying? Like, TV is the most superficial medium that we have. That's why sports anchors, like local TV sports anchors, talk the way that they do on camera, but not like that in real life. Nobody talks like that in real life. Back to you in the studio. J.J. Watt seems like he would have the personality, the traits to be the best at television. Buck calls J.J. Watt a fraud is the headline, says Malik Willis as a truther. Trippin' Titan says, damn, Buck calling J.J. Watt fake. No, I just think he'd be, well, I mean, yeah, the Captain America stuff is a little cheesy, no? Like, Alex Rodriguez. Alex Rodriguez, also notably liar, steroid user, like all of these things. Very, very fake personality. You know he doesn't like sitting up there with Derek Jeter on the Fox dais, and yet he's big, toothy grin the whole time. You know he hates that. And yet he's going to be good at television because he's not a real person. Of those people, like, I don't know that Matt Ryan has or doesn't have personality. I know Mark Ingram probably is going to be good at TV. We'll see. But, like, of the people who are most likely, whose personalities are most likely to lend themselves to being good studio analysts, being good television people, being good on TV. J.J. Watt and the Captain America corniness. Even though he's raised a tremendous amount of money and for all manner of different causes. And which hurricane was it that devastated the Houston area that he did so much great work for? I'm not disputing that J.J. Watt has not done a tremendous amount of good. I'm just saying that the Captain America shtick, it lends itself to fakeness on TV. Stephen King says, I bet Buck's off-air voice is super high-pitched and squeaky. No, unfortunately. That's the thing that I get the most when I see you guys out in public is, oh, my God, you actually sound like that. I'm like, yeah. I don't know what to do.
Can confirm.
Dad? That's what I sound like in real life.
Do that again.
Dad?
That's going to be a drop.
Oh, God. That's a good time for polls. No, he wasn't ready.
These are the polls, and they're brought to you by Two Rivers Ford. Two Rivers sells below MSRP on all non-specialty new Fords. What we were just hitting on, which inactive NFL player will be the best TV analyst? 17% say Matt Ryan.
It's loud as hell, Jackson. I can't hear you at all.
39% say J.J. Watt. 10% say Mark Ingram, and 34% say Tom Brady.
I don't know who's going to be. I'm just going to say Mark Ingram because he makes me laugh the most. Mark Ingram's always funny. I hope that it translates well to TV. Usually stuff like that doesn't. So, real personality doesn't work well on TV. Fake personality, really, really good at TV.
Who is gaslighting football fans harder in the DeAndre Hopkins sweepstakes? D-Hop or the media? D-Hop got 28% of the votes. Media getting 72%.
Man, that's way more skewed than I thought it was going to be. But you guys hate us, so I understand.
Who would win the Zuckerberg-Elon Musk fight? It's a lock, 50-50 between Elon and the Zuck.
It's never happened before. 50-50. Never happened before in the history of the radio show.
It's a great day for history.
Oh, yeah. Are those the polls?
Those are the polls.
There's not one more?
Nobody replied.
Okay.
Did not get many Friday Fives.
None of you have anything good to say on a Friday. That's hilarious. Good. The next time you all bitch at me about being too negative, I'm just going to remind you of that tweet. The one negative. We specifically designed a segment to do some kind of weekly positivity because Robert thinks my attitude is too bad. And none of you responded. That makes me laugh. Well done. Good job by Jackson. He's going to be back with us next week. Lucas will be back next week. Unfortunately, he's going to be in the studio with me. I don't know how I can prevent that. Apparently, there's nothing I can do. You guys have a great weekend. We'll be back with you on Monday. Make sure you get your bowling tickets. Coach Mack, Ben Jones, Darren Bates, and a couple other guests that I have in store for you guys. Your tickets are available at 1045thezone.com. Make sure you get them this weekend so you're not scrambling next week when they are getting ready to sell out. Can't wait to hang out with you guys at Kings Bowl on July the 13th. Meantime, I'll talk to you Sunday night on Primetime.